It's AM show time, and yours truly together with Berners. You know how we do it every morning, serenading you in the morning with all the right tidbits, information, current affairs. That's what we do here on the AM show. And we're always glad because we do this because of you. And so when you join us, it makes our day. From us to you, we love you as always. Now, here's what you can expect this morning in the course of the show. The news shortly, then right after that, the news review together with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Who is he? He's a political scientist and the director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And right after that, we get into sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, followed by the big stories. Now, number one, what we're looking at today. Government is asking bondholders to accept a nominal haircut of as much as 40%. Yes, you heard me right. Now, this is after some government bonds slumped, took a nosedive. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has disclosed that Ghana has submitted a debt reworking proposal containing huge haircuts on both principal and interests. Now, the question is, what does Ghana want and what will be the implications on our economy? Today on the AM show, we're joined by our guests, Professor Lord Mensah, Associate Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Professor John Gachi is Dean at the UCC School of Business, and of course, we'll have our own in-house data analyst, Isaac Kofi-Adjei, joining the conversation to break it down to bite-sized pieces for all of us. But also on the show, there's a momentous shift. The National Union of Ghana Students has new leaders. This follows the expiration of the tenure of Dennis Appiah-Labi and his crew, where Nooks is now being headed by Treme Opong Daniel. Today we'll be hosting him as he shares his vision for Ghanaian students, as well as how he will ensure that stakeholders make the educational sector better. But today being a Wednesday, what's a Wednesday without AM business? Well, courtesy of EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, would come your way with today's installment of AM Business. Today, we're telling you how Lakeside Estate, developers of the Lakeside Hills project, are poised to offer potential customers amazing offers at this year's EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair, after which we'll allow you to have your say. But in the course of the live stream, if you're celebrating something, if you have any thoughts on the matters we're discussing, share them with us, and let's do this for God and country. Up next, the news. Thank you for staying. Thank you for joining us on the News Belt. Let's get into our first story now. Senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, has warned that the idea of having applied research and its outcomes to sharpen the conduct of policy formulation and implementation will continue to suffer so long as citizens are unable to force or compel government to respect the principle of state policy as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution by continuing with ongoing projects. Speaking at the third annual research conference of the Simon Diedong Dombo University of Business and Development Studies, Professor Jampo noted that the habit of discontinuing projects when there was a change in government did not augur well for the development of the country. Rafiq Salam now reports from WA.
The 2023 Research and Development Conference of the Simon Diedong Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, SDDU-BASE, was held on the theme Bridging the Gap Between Applied Research, Policy Formulation and Implementation. The conference is the third of the university since its attaining autonomous status in 2019 and attended by over 90 participants from different universities and institutions across the country. Senior political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo, expressed worry over the plethora of policies that has been formulated by ruling governments but thrown away immediately there is a change of government. Professor Jampo warned that the idea of having applied research and its outcomes shaping the conduct of policy formulation and implementation will continue to suffer as long as citizens are unable to force or compel government to respect the directive principle of state policy as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution.
The first time we had a long-term national vision for Ghana was Vision 2020 in 1996. It was prepared by power changers, it was thrown away. I am saying that The idea of having applied research and its outcomes shaping the conduct of policy, formulation and implementation will continue to suffer so long as we are unable to force or compel government to respect the provisions in the directive principles of state policy, chapter 6 of the 1992 Constitution, that enjoins government to, as much as possible, continue with projects, programs that may have been initiated by predecessor governments. So just think about it. If a program or a policy is being implemented and it benefited extensively from research, and a new government comes and just throws it away, introduces its own, then where are we going?
Many promises of political leaders in the country have not been fulfilled, thereby having some bearings on the gaps between applied research and policy formulation.
Now, the Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Dr. Ishmael Aka, is asking managers of the Northern Electricity Distribution Company to improve their customer service. He spoke to Joy News in Techiman after a meeting with NEDCO. Anas Abid has more.
Speaking exclusively to Joy News on the sidelines of a meeting held between national and regional leadership of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission and the Techiman area of the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, Executive Secretary of the PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, said the move forms part of the Commission's quest towards enhancing education and engagement amongst utility companies and consumers.
This year, PURC is focusing on three main things: education, engagement, and enforcement. As part of the education and engagement, we are going around meeting utilities. First of all, to look at what they are doing within their catchment area, and also to listen to some of their achievements and the challenges they are facing, and also look at areas we can collaborate to serve the customers better. So today we came to NEDCO Techiman area. So it is more of a collaborative work. It's a friendly visit to engage them and to see how best people in Techiman and in this area can get electricity, reliable and affordable electricity.
Dr. Ishmael Aka, however, admonished NEDCO to work towards improving its customer engagements, particularly during power outages, to enable them meet the needs of their customers.
For us, three things. One is that they should constantly communicate with customers. They should engage them. So there are instances, for some reasons, the light may go off. People should know early so that they can plan. There are certain customers who may have some backlog in terms of bills. If you have a payment plan, let them know, engage them before they even come and see you. So I think that is a very important one. Another area we want them to focus on is to also have some satellite offices, especially some towns outside Techiman, so that customers do not walk long distance to get to some of their offices to report their issues and others.
Techiman area manager for NEDCO, John Tyree, on his part lauded the move by the PURC and was quick to raise concerns on difficulties NEDCO go through in reaching some of its distribution areas, particularly during revenue mobilization.
We have made them aware of some of our challenges. Operation-wise, we are not doing badly at all. But naturally, there are some hitches that are beyond our control. We mentioned some communities where at this time of the year it is difficult to reach. So even when there are faults or complaints from those areas, you naturally cannot just go there. We mentioned places like Kejeji, where it is 56 kilometers away from our service center in Kwame Danso. And revenue mobilization, even to go there at this time to mobilize revenue, is a problem.
In relation to the recent hike in electricity tariffs, Mr. John Tyree urged consumers to be conscious of the situation and work towards minimizing their energy consumption.
What is in your house is what consumes the power. So if you can afford the cost of such equipment or gadgets that are consuming electricity, then it is just fair that you should be able to pay. So that is why we are preaching that consumers should be conscious of the cost of electricity. Money have uses, so if you are not using it for electricity, you use it for something else. If you conserve power, it is good for your life. You have, spare money for discretionary spending.
Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Teachman.
Now, some cancer patients at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital are compelled to delay or avoid early treatment due to the exorbitant cost. According to experts, late diagnosis and therapy affect access to care for these patients. Clinton Yabwa has more in this report.
Cancer and its related ailments are complex medical conditions that usually require surgeries, radiation therapy, and chemotherapy. These procedures are carried out conjointly with anesthetics, which plays a central role. At the Oncology Directorate of Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, a high number of patients and their family members are compelled to choose between giving up on their lives and breaking their bank accounts.
We receive good treatment, but our problem is the cost of treatment. Medications cost between 1,000 Ghana cedis and 3,000 Ghana cedis.
This is my child. The expenses I have endured are serious. We are pleading to policymakers. Anesthesiologist at the hospital, Dr. Sophia Ankra, indicates the exorbitant cost of cancer treatment compels underprivileged patients to discontinue treatment. She is calling for subsidies for cancer treatments to widen accessibility to comprehensive health care.
The cost of cancer treatment is very expensive. I think their chemotherapy, radiotherapy, all that is very expensive. So if there could be some form of incorporating it into our health insurance to subsidize the prices, I think it will go a long way, because most of them report early, but then because of the lack of funds to start treatment or to continue, some start but they are unable to continue, the disease progresses and then they end up with at the end stage where nothing else can be done for them. So I think the cost is the main thing that the policy makers should look at.
Anesthesia plays a crucial role in surgeries, complicated medical procedures, and pain management. In commemoration of World Anesthesia Day 2023, themed Anesthesia and Cancer Care, the Ghana Anesthetics Society checked up on patients to encourage and inspire them to endure their medical journey. Dr. Sophia Ankra highlighted the importance of anesthetics to medical procedures.
We help with managing the chronic pain associated with cancer patients. And then we also give sedation or anesthesia when they have to undergo certain procedures, like bone marrow aspirates for the kids with leukemia and other cancers. And if they have to do certain procedures like radiation therapy, like the fluoroscopy and brachytherapy, we need to give them sedation for that. So anesthesia plays a vital role in management of cancer patients. The numbers of doctors practicing anesthesia is increasing. So it's giving us the opportunity to spread our services to all these other specialties that really need our help.
Reporting for Joy News, Clinton Yabo.
In our next story, more than 600 girls in the Esujeman district, traditional area in the Amansie East municipality of the Ashanti region, are being supported with free sanitary pads and reproductive health education. The initiative by the wife of the paramount chief of Esumeja, Asante Manso, seeks to address absenteeism among adolescent girls who skip classes during their menstrual periods. Ohiming Terry of our health desk has more in this report.
Education authorities are worried many adolescent girls shy away from classes due to poor management of menstruation. Girls in their puberty age resort to the use of clothes and other unhygienic means. They lack the funds to buy sanitary wares. Many of these girls, mostly seeing their menses for the first time, choose to stay away from the classroom. James Kwame Amwa is the head teacher of Esuminya RCGHS. His school is among those with the highest number of girls absenting from the class because of menstruation.
Most of our female students find it a challenge to buy a sanitary pad, so it has really become rampant in a sense that during contact hours, their colleagues may be in the classroom learning, whilst for some circumstance, the ladies have to go to a change room and other stuff. Sometimes they may not have the sanitary pads where they are tempted to go home to find means to change themselves.
The Oheneyere Reproductive Health Support Foundation is attending to the needs of the girls in the area. The foundation, an initiative of the wife of the paramount chief of Esuminya, is not only distributing sanitary pads, but also hitting schools in the traditional area with reproductive health education. With the help of Marie Stopes, the foundation is embarking on a sensitization program to educate girls on their reproductive health. At one of such programs that coincided with the Akweside Festival celebration of the Esuminya Hene, over 100 students received support. Doreen Intrama is the founder of the foundation.
It's very much impacting on their education. Most of the girls will not come to school because they don't have the support. They do not have the materials to keep themselves clean, to stay in the school hours in the school. That's just the main purpose, to try and support the girls. The boys have not been left behind. Today the boys are receiving shaving sticks to go home as well. It will not be a 9-day wonder. So far we have partners, we have committed individuals, and we have most of Nane's friends who are very much interested in this initiative. They are willing to bring forth whatever support they have to make sure that education becomes attractive to the girls who have issues with this embarrassment kind of season that they all experience.
Meanwhile, the foundation has earmarked over 600 students to receive sanitary pads and reproductive health education at no cost. From Esuminya Asantemanso for Joy News, Ohime Nteria reporting.
Well, that's how we cap off the news, but do stay with us. Up next, the news review with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Up next. Welcome on the News Review Belt on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the newspapers. And before I introduce my guest, of course, the segment brought to you, as always, by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. Go check it out. In recent times, I've had the unfortunate privilege, if you may call it that, of hearing the stories of some people who are suffering prostate issues. And guess what? The least in terms of age is just in his mid-30s. Don't risk it. Start getting yourself checked. If you're a woman, fertility issues, do you know what's happening as far as your fertility is concerned? That's why you ought to make tracks to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic and get free screening. Here's where you can locate them. If you're in Accra, they are at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. If you are in Kumasi, you can locate them at Kumasi, Kronomabwe, behind the Angel Educational Complex. If you are in Takrade, Anaje State is where you can locate them. If you are in Tema, Community 22 is where you can locate them. There's also Tichiman Hanswa and Isiama in Nzima. Their call lines, pick up your phone. Yeah, go ahead. This is where you can reach them on. Give them a call later in the day. 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But right now, I have the pleasure of inviting to join the conversation and welcoming aboard Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He's a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. He also heads the Center for European Studies. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's a wet morning. It's been raining in bits and pieces for the last 2-3 days, and this morning as well. It's a bit of that kind of morning, but we thank God for everything. We thank God for the showers as well. But I'll throw it to you like I usually do. A lot has happened over the last week since we spoke. I'll give you about 2 minutes to share your thoughts on any of the developments. I don't know whether we spoke about the assault of that City FM, City TV reporter by a member of the NDC on the back of what happened at the UTV. Then we heard Mr. President. Okay. In the Odododiodo constituency, you know, our very own Nilante Vanderpoy is stepping down for others to take over. And you would think that after what had happened at UTV, the political parties would think through some of these things better. But guess what? There was another assault of someone who works with City FM and City TV, a lady. There's also been talk from Mr. President, or talk about the rhetoric of Mr. President. I don't know whether you listened to him when he went to the Volta region and what he said about ordinarily, you people don't vote for me. So insinuating that maybe he shouldn't be there. Some have taken him on. I have taken him on. But I don't know what your thoughts are. And the latest being the haircut promised and delivered, 40% nominal haircut that is staring us down the throat. Any quick reflections?
Yeah, I'll look at the president's comments in Volta region. I would describe it as unfortunate, unnecessary, insensitive, and unfair to the people of Volta region. Why am I saying that? And above all, it undermines the spirit and letter of the Constitution. You look at the Constitution, the presidential oath is there, that I, blah, 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 having been elected to the high office of the president, blah, 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 times will not permit us, but I'll paraphrase, that I'll dedicate myself to the service of the well-being of Ghanaians, do right to all manner of people, and also dedicate myself to the service and the well-being of the people.
No, not to impede you, but this very same thing you're saying, that's immediately he said it. You know, honestly, when I heard the video, I thought, no, this can't be true. So I went and looked for the video. Then I listened to the audio. And what you're quoting is immediately what sprang to me. And I was saying, in the oath of office that you take, you say you'll be this to all manner of people. So why do you have to get to this point?
Why this?
So sorry for the interjection. Please go ahead.
No, that's a good one. So you dedicate yourself to the service and well-being of the people of Ghana and do right to all manner of people. All right. So even if the people are not Ghanaians, you owe it a duty to yourself and to the Constitution, to the good people of this country, that you do them good, all manner of service and all that. So why, Mr. President, why this comment? And unfortunately so, that was not a proper forum. It was a wrong forum. The lawyers say that. It was a wrong forum. The forum did not warrant that type of comment that you have to vote for me, that kind of thing. And then if it wasn't the case, blah, 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 blah. But that is unfortunate. So I believe that it was, as I have already said, unfortunate, unnecessary, insensitive, and unfair. And it undermines the spirit and letter of the Constitution, all right? Because the president is supposed to provide support for everybody. He's the father of all. And that is why the president, in Paul Kassan, said he's a symbol of the state. He symbolizes the state, not only at home, but abroad and all that. But here you are. If you can't even be there for all, how do you then symbolize the state when you are outside this country? I think, Mr. President, this one, I'm sorry, you did not do well at all. But we want to take this opportunity to remind the president that he's a father of all, and he knows more than I do as far as constitutional issues are concerned, and that we want him to know that he will serve us at all time, and we will give him the necessary respect at all time, and we'll support him to succeed, because it is part of our duty to also support every government to succeed. But when he also do something which is untoward, which is not in tune with the rules of the game, we are quick to point it out to him with respect. So this one, we believe that he did not do well. It is unfair to the people, and it brings to mind the issues that always come to the fore. That and you recall, Mr. Vincent Asisi, once upon a time, told us that political parties are like electoral machines, that they always look for opportunity to campaign for the next election. Is it the case or is it not? It brings to sharp focus that statement. And that is it or the case that you are looking for what? Electoral victory or people to vote for you? No. After you have been voted to office, you go with your oath by providing service, by supporting the people. When the time comes for them to vote, they can decide to vote for you or vote against you. And voting against you doesn't mean that they hate you. I mean, they are exercising their right, and nobody has any right to tell them the direction of their vote. And Mr. President, in a short time...
Someone made mention of the fact that the MPP that he's speaking of secures about 100,000 votes in the Volta region. 100,000.
In addition to this, they won the Hoi seat.
Yes.
For the first time in the Fourth Republic.
Yeah.
And even if they get 0, does it warrant that type of comment? The people who vote decide to vote in a particular direction, and nobody has any right to comment on the direction and all that. You can appeal to them. As to whether they will accept your appeal is another one. But they will vote and vote the way they want to vote at all times. Let politicians remember that if you want their vote, do their bidding. You have to what? Convince them that you have what it takes for them to what? Give you their vote. Otherwise, people will continue to vote the way they want to. But it doesn't take away their right and their interest within the national scheme of things. No. So this one, Mr. President, with respect, I disagree with you vehemently, and I think it's unfair to the people of Ghana and the people of Volta region. They are in a very difficult situation. All that you needed to show to them is empathy, sympathize with them, pledge your support to them, and then they move on. It is not easy, the situation they find themselves. I can imagine me returning from work at Legon only to come and find my mattress and bed on the surface of water. Can you imagine that? It's not easy. And these are people who are already in vulnerable situations and all that. The best we can do is to show support, is to empathize with them, and then strengthen their resolve that, look, all will be well, and that I am with you. That is all. It is not too much that the people can ask for, or it can be given to the people. No.
Thank you so much for your reflections on these matters. Let's get into the papers now, and we'll start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Limited voter registration exercise, EC captures 910,996 voters, exceeds 700,000 target by 200,000. Then, President inaugurates second phase of Sinotrack assembly plant at Katamanso. There's also major Mahama murder case. Prosecution addresses 7-member jury. Young person suffering from mental health in Ghana, alarming. That's according to Dr. Ekwemit. You can trust that I'll get into that story, because when I go round, the young people I interact with, those whose dreams are getting shattered, those who sometimes are slipping into despondency, those who feel nothing is working for them on the back of where we find ourselves. A lot of such people are going through issues that we may not see. Next thing we know, something has happened to them and we go, oh, it's just that the systems didn't help. Alleged coup plotter denies joining group to topple government. Then on the back page, Akosombo Dam spillage victims cautioned against use of polluted water. But when you leave them without water, I think I saw someone who had been drinking some form of contaminated water. It was only yesterday or so that the person had, potable water to drink. There's Ghana set to produce anti-snake venom. I'll bring you most of these stories, but let's start with the main one about the Electoral Commission, and then I'll go on to other stories very quickly. So, the Electoral Commission says it is, quote, satisfied with the conduct and outcome of the just ended limited voter registration exercise. The commission said against a target of 700,000 out of 1.35 million restorable population, it has captured 910,996, exceeding its target with over 200,000 registrations. So the projection, 700,000, then they actually got 910,996, but out of a population of 1.35 million. A deputy chair of the Electoral Commission in charge of technical services, Samuel Tete, at the Commission's Let the Citizen Know series in Accra yesterday, said it achieved this feat as a result of well-trained, committed staff, adequate provision of materials, and improved network systems. My question to you on this, do you feel, because eventually the entire population that we're looking at, 1.35 million, we may have to go back to some of these areas in the Volta region, for example, that complain vehemently about the slow or small numbers captured. But do you feel on the back of this excess in registration that the EC has proved its detractors wrong? Those who are saying, look, do it this way, do it that way, and rope all people in. Has the EC, so to speak, shamed its detractors?
The EC has not shamed anybody. It is the duty of the EC to listen to the people that they serve at all times. That pusher on the part of the EC was annoying and unfortunate. Why? You don't want to listen to the people. All right, listen to them and then bring your expertise to bear. This number that you claim you have attained, what about those who did not get opportunity to register? You are talking about next year, they can register. But who says tomorrow is for you? Tomorrow is not meant for you.
Some of them, in fact, I mean, God forbid, but knowing how fluid life is, some of these people may not even make it into next year for registration. And that is a fact of life.
It is a fact. And Plato has told us that he has no control of tomorrow. Make do when the sun is shining today. Give them the opportunity. And let me throw that opportunity away that I have registered and that next year I will not vote. It's my right to refuse to vote. All right, but don't deny me the opportunity to register. So any argument about it, it was a bogus one. It cannot be accepted at all. All right. Yes, you have attained your target. What about me, who also wanted to achieve my aim of registering for the first time as a young person who is coming up in life? Have I also achieved my target? Have I also achieved my aim? That is the $1 million question for the EC, and not to praise themselves that they have achieved their target. What about me, the first time registrant and a voter? Have you given me the opportunity to achieve my interest or my aim? No. Democracy is not a monologue. It's a continuum and a dialogue process that continues forever. So you listen and then you make adjustment to suit the interests of the people. I will move on to the issue of the mental health, and which you have touched on rightly. It's a good thing that we need to support at all times. Sometimes, if you talk to doctors, they will tell you that not everybody who walks on the street is fine relative to mental health issues. All right. So if we are a country and we want to pay lip service to mental health, we'll risk destroying the whole society one day. So I am of the firm belief that the state must put its attention on that and not only just focus on the matter, but also providing the needed resources to be able to do this work and do it well by the practitioners. All right. Sometimes you see the idea is there. We make all the talk, but the wherewithal, the financial wherewithal will be absent. And more often than not, that is the issue in Ghana. We think that there are unnecessary things that we spend money on. This is a critical issue that needs a lot of attention and resources so that we get it fixed once and for all. I heard about something you talk on before I'll come to the spillage, anti-snake venom.
Yes.
I am very much interested in this because as a son of a farmer and myself a farmer, it is critical. If you have lived in a rural area, snake bite is the daily occurrence. Yes, my father was a herbalist and he was the toast of many when he came into issue of snake bite in his village. All right, he will give you herbs and you are good to go. Today, where are those people? They don't exist anymore. We need that. There was a time in my area, I was driving and somebody stopped me that, hey, I'm sorry, I have to stop you this way. My brother has been bitten by a snake and around and all that. We ended up in a hospital and all that. I left them. But later, stories that you hear from a hospital that they say, oh, what's the color of the snake that bit you? Can you imagine? Can you identify the color? If that, so I was wondering, I said, what kind of statement is that? I am in a difficult situation, bitten by a snake, and you want me to be able to recount to you the color and all that. If this thing is anything to go by, then I think they must look at something more meaningful than that, and then support us so that you have this thing and all that. Because it can happen to you at any time. You don't need to be in the village for you to be bitten by a snake. It can happen anywhere. And, you know, these things must be available. Farmers need this. People in the town and cities, they need this at all times. So I am in support of that we are able to produce our own, and then the government will support. Come back to the issue of the spillage of water from the dam. All right. It is unfortunate we find ourselves in this situation. The issue, when I listen to the stories, Vinyari said, well, they give all manner of education and all that. But how we have arrived here is where the beef or the problem is. All right. Water is spilled and there is destruction and all that. But I come back to look at it. I said, where the authorities giving enough information to the people to prepare their minds on this. Did they foresee this thing happening?
There's been a lot of banter back and forth between them.
Yeah.
The Member of Parliament for Northton, Okwejatua Blakwa, intimated at a point that he had no idea about certain developments. But I think in all things, there are some people too who, when they are told to move, will not necessarily take the required actions because they feel, look, in about 50 years, it's never been this bad. You know, so you can apportion blame to many sides, but the point is the people are suffering and something must be done because the spillages are going to continue over the next 2 or so weeks. And you can't leave the people in this state. Some of their buildings have collapsed. Some of them don't have food. Some can't even, you know, in dignity, have a bath. You know, these are, someone had been drinking contaminated water. You know, it's a real problem.
That is where administration comes in. Public administration is nothing but what service to the people. Are we administering the way we ought to do? Are we providing the necessary service? Is that what we are seeing now? But I'm happy. And that, yes, the president and his team moved there, apart from the comment he made. That is one plus. The second issue, I had National Health Service quickly moving there, and I like them, I commend them quickly. And so, but for the necessary attention, the stakeholders are saying that the place, the situation calls for what? A declaration of state of emergency, so that more emphasis, more attention can be given to that.
Right.
I think I am happy this morning, your news item, the security group in that area saying that they are going to advise the government appropriately. We are waiting for them, and then we see that appropriate advice. But all that we need is that the people need support. They need food, shelter, clothing, and then medicine, water, potable water, because all the source of water that they have in the area are contaminated with all manner of things. So we must act very fast and save our people who are in this difficult situation. But I believe that going forward, we need an emergency fund that would deal with that. This morning I had a news item, and that also gladdened my heart, that the COVID-19 fund, why can't we channel part of it into this exercise?
Right.
And all that.
Especially when they are still charging a COVID-19 levy, especially when at this time, when the entire world, the WHO has said this is no longer, it has removed the status and all of that, global pandemic, we're still charging. So we might as well channel some of those
money
funds
going to? Where is that money going to? We have emergency on our hand, invested in the save lives and properties, and then the rest, you channel it into dialysis program.
Right.
So that it can support the needy, the vulnerable, the poor, and all that. This thing can happen to anybody. This disaster and start. Today is voter reading. Who knows the next day? We are not praying for that. But let us be there at all times to serve our people.
Right. Two quick things.
Administration is nothing but what? Service to the people.
Right. On the back of what you just said, two quick things. One, the people have suggested that, look, where we are is not too far from the Saglemi affordable housing project. We don't have any shelter. Why don't you shelter us there in the interim? And then when things normalize, you can bring us back. And you also mentioned dialysis, that it could be channeled there. You know, on the back of all the Galamsey activity and everything else going on, many people are getting, polluted, so to speak. They are imbibing, absorbing all these chemicals. Mercury, you can even inhale it. And some women are inhaling it and their children are coming out malformed, deformed in a way. All of that also in there. I don't know whether you've seen our latest Hotline documentary,
yes,
Poisoned for Gold. What are your quick thoughts on those? The Saglemi one, and then many people standing the risk of kidney disease in Ghana on the back of Galamsey.
Yeah, the Saglemi one, I think is appropriate call. Government facilities lying idle and people are struggling. They don't have facility. You call NADMO, yes, they've done their bit, but they don't have all the necessary support. So why can't you put the people there for the time being so that you save life and property? What is the point of losing the human beings when there is a facility that exists in the name of Ghana, which they are entitled to by law? You put them, it becomes, important for you to put them there to breathe a sigh of relief. The other issue you talk about, about what's the other issue, please?
I mentioned dialysis, poison for gold.
Yes, destruction of the forest, water bodies in the name of searching for gold and other minerals. We have talked about it time and again, and today the reality has dawned on us. You remember, I always say, if politicians will not master the courage and do what is needful and all that, when we talk about Galamsey, they want to shove it under the carpet and say that it doesn't exist and all that, provide evidence, do this, and that substantiate this. The reality will dawn on us very soon. And last time, you remember, you even pointed out the signs of it, that scientists have established the connection between Galamsey and kidney problems and all that. Last I heard your documentary. And it was so, terrifying in the sense that now food items are being poisoned. And that the gentleman I listened to said that he's afraid to take certain portions of fish, that is talking about the head and the gills and the rest. He takes the muscles and all that. We are in difficult situation. And that if we don't address it now, it will consume all of us. But then it comes back to nothing. What is it that we can gain out of all the things that we claim we want to fight for? And at the end of the day, we end up destroying ourselves. We lose all. So we should think twice and then make sure that we force our leaders. If they are not going to listen to this call, they are not going to attend to our needs and interests. When the time comes for us to renew their mandate, let us shy away from them.
Right.
Because then there are people who cannot maintain us, who cannot support us to live, normal life. That is the way to go. That's the way to go.
Let's quickly get into some other stories. I'll just reiterate these ones. We've already done the mental health story. I'll just rehash what was mentioned there. So the rate at which young people in Ghana are increasingly suffering from mental health conditions is alarming, says specialist psychiatrist at the Mental Health Authority, Dr. Peggy Esiedu-Ekremet. Now, consequently, she has advised parents and guardians to pay keen attention to the mental health of children and adolescents under their care to ensure their holistic well-being. Speaking at a seminar in Accra to mark Mental Health Day, Dr. Ekremet, child and adolescent mental health specialist, said it was imperative that parents paid attention to that aspect of their ward's health. Quoting her, she says, when it comes to children and adolescents below the age of 19 years, when we take 5 at each point, 1 will have a recognizable and treatable mental health condition. Of all the adult conditions of mental health, about 50% would have started before the age of 14. And this is becoming alarming by the day. Just imagine that. If you pick 5 of these young ones, children, adolescents below the age of 19, for every 5, 1 will have a recognizable and treatable mental health disorder. And many of these develop before or by the age of 14, which tells us that we have a long way to go in terms of, because if people grow up with mental health issues, obviously you will not get to tap the best out of them in society. There's also alleged coup plotter denies joining group to topple government. And Lance Air Force Corporal Ali Solomon, one of the 9 persons accused of attempting to overthrow the government, has denied attending the meeting that discussed the alleged plot. LAC Solomon was responding to Ms. Winifred Sapong, a state attorney's statement that Corporal Niankra, the prosecution's 12th witness, had told the High Court that LAC Solomon invited Corporal Ankra specifically to the meeting on June 22, 2018 at the Next Door Beach Resort, Accra. He came to the residence and did not meet me, so I asked him to meet me at the Next Door Beach Resort. It goes on and on, but that's the allegation there. Let me just add this one from the Finder newspaper for a quick response. 1,668 killed in road crashes between January and September 2023. A few details of that. And the road traffic crashes between January and September 2023 have killed 1,668 commuters. This is a 7.4% decrease compared to the 1,801 killed during the first 9 months of 2022. Of course, it doesn't mean that because there's a decrement, we should be happy about the situation. There's much more we can do. But if you look at the significant margin of decrease in deaths or fatalities recorded in the January to September window of 2023, that's the 7.4% could be largely attributed to the level of reductions recorded in deaths by 10.1%, 7.9%, and 9.2% in the Greater Accra, Ashanti, and Eastern regions, respectively. Your thoughts?
I'll look at the crashes on our roads. We have said it time and again. I don't know what I can add. The only thing I can say is that let us remember that even without the police, we owe it a duty to ourselves that we protect ourselves and protect the lives of the rest of the people in Ghana. Defensive driving is that you drive to protect yourself and protect others. The road is not a fanfare platform where you go and have fun and then come home and then people have lost their lives. That's not true. If you know you are not qualified to drive, don't sit behind the driving wheel. No. If you know the car is not fit for purpose, don't put it on the road. And we also expect you, any road user, a driver, or whoever, make sure that you abide by the rules of that game. That there are rules governing driving, and that if you are not interested, please abandon driving and let us save lives. And then it has also something to do with also engineering. There are certain portions of the road that we know that this is problematic. It has taken authorities a long time to fix. In recent time, we have seen virtually Accra, we are in a ghost town. Where are the street lights? Are they working? Yet we pay what?
Apart from the Tema motorway and others, you pass by certain stretches. For example, in front of the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel, the Labadi Beach Hotel, you see that stretch, the beach road coming through.
Yes.
In fact, that beach road, yes, while there's some construction work going on, that portion is crazy, all the way leading into Dungwa. It's a terrible, stretch. And if you're not careful, imagine using that stretch every day. Your shocks, other parts of your car, brakes and all.
Yes, these things can create accident. And traffic lights are not working, some of them, in the city and other places. And then also law enforcement, all right. Yes, we expect the police, they are doing a good job. But the bad ones out of them also should shy away from, saluting people and say, honorable this, that, enforce the rules. There is nothing wrong about you doing your work. So that all these things can be checked. We owe it a duty to ourselves. It's a whole complex process. It can't be blamed on one person. Let us all do the right thing and save ourselves. We don't need any government or police to ensure that. We need to have the presence of mind that we own our lives to ourselves. It's not the police, it's not the state. Let's defend it at all times.
Doc, let's wrap with these two stories. 31 suspected commercial sex workers, human traffickers arrested in Western Region. That's on page 4 of the Finder newspaper. The Western Regional Command of the Ghana Immigration Service, through its Axim Sector Command, has arrested a total of 31 ECOWAS nationals suspected to be syndicates engaged in commercial sex working and human trafficking at their hideouts in the Alembele district and in Zima East municipality of the Western Region. And the two-day intelligence operation actually brought this to bear. But Ghana Police Service, sometimes I'm told a few things, but there's this stretch right here in Kokomlemle behind a certain bank on the other side. Ghana Police Service, are you saying you don't know what goes on in some two hotel, motel settings? It's an entire stretch. If you don't know, you would. I passed by many months ago a number of times, and then I was told what was happening. And you see them there in the evening, lining the place. Ghana Police Service. Why is this happening? Why are we turning a blind eye? It's so prominent, yet it's hidden. Let's not pretend about some of these things. And then guarantor abusers will be jailed. That's on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. The Electoral Commission has served notice it will ensure the prosecution of all guarantors who flouted the electoral law in the recently held limited voter registration exercise across the country. Quick thoughts, Doc, and it's a wrap.
Yes. Let's look at the issue you talk about, the human traffic issue and the commercial sex workers and all that. What you said is a situation in Accra. Go to East Legon, places like violation areas and all that. You see people standing there.
Places in cantonments.
Police. Yes.
Yeah, we know. Yes. I don't want to mention the name of the
police saying that they have not seen that. It tells you about enforcement, all right? Our capacity, the regulatory capacity of the state to make laws and enforce them is weak. All right, I'm going to add another one to it. Go to Nsahom, people sell chofi. All right, this commodity has been banned and it's out there. I mean, in public, people selling, and they get away with this. Something that we spend resources, make law against it because of health condition. The stakeholders, people like Professor Bedu, Akusa, and Co. They stood firm for this thing to be passed, only to allow it to, be broken and all that. That law. Go to Nsahom and see whether it is effective today. Chofi is sold near the Densu.
That reminds me of the firecrackers. I don't know whether that ban has been lifted, though.
I don't know. But law enforcement, we are quick to make a law, but has to enforce them. The US, they will tell you that their lawmaking body is what, unique in the sense that what they do is that when they pass a law, they go out there and ensure that the law works. I think that is what our parliament must begin to think about, so that they can also work in that unique manner. Guarantor system, yes. This is a system that should not be abused because it has its own advantages and other, and it helps people. It's easy and make life all better. Politicians, individual groups, and other want to abuse it. But the way out is that enforce the law. Anybody who is caught in, deal with him. That's all.
Right. Doc, thank you so much for joining me this Wednesday morning to get into the details in the papers. We're always grateful. Have a wonderful day. And that is Dr. Kwame Asa-Asante, political scientist, director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Quick one, I missed this yesterday before I catch any flack. Belated happy birthday to Thomas Hughes Emisa. Thomas Hughes Emisa, aka Skillful of, I have to take my time with this, Kawanopado in Cape Coast, and head of audit Olam Agri Limited. It's from your friend and brother, Richard Kwejo Nyako. Belated happy birthday. So I'm told it is Kawanopado. Hey, Ayasemo. Yes, Brofu Yedu. But Kasa Devinsu Yedu. Anyway, to wrap, right before we get into sports, this segment, as always, brought to us by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Locate them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji State Tema Community 22. Techiman Hanso and Siamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. The end to chronic disease. A number of matches were played. England, Italy, Peru, Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, among others. Well, some of that coming your way up next in sports.
We have seen a lot together, and through it all, the faces here at Joy News have looked you straight in the eyes and asked the questions you've always wanted to ask. We've been fearless but compassionate. We've been relentless with our probe. We have given you the microphones.
The boy they killed is my best friend.
We here at Joy News are always honored to share each day with you. My name is Ernest Minu, and this is Joy News. Credible, fearless, and independent.
When I took the oath of office as president, I took the oath of office as president of every single individual in Ghana. And whether they voted for me or not, once I have taken the oath, I am the president of all the people. Togbe, you and your elders, I want the people here, you, beginning with you and the elders, to understand that when something like this happens and government acts, government is acting for Ghanaians, all Ghanaians. I came here because Ghanaians are having difficulties and are suffering. And it is my responsibility to try and help. Because if it's a question of counting who votes for me and who doesn't vote for me, I shouldn't be here because you don't vote for me. But that is not my concern. And in any event, one day you will vote for me and my party.
Good morning, everyone. Time now to bring you sports on the AM show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. And in the early hours of today, the senior national team, the Black Stars, played its last friendly match of the year. When it came up against the United States, many have described it as spiritless. Others also say it was disappointing, uninspiring, drab performance from the senior national team as they were walloped 4-0 by the United States of America. In less than half an hour, the Black Stars had already conceded 4 goals, which meant that the game was over. In the second half, the Americans made many changes, pulling out some of their best players. Many people actually say that if the Americans decided to continue with the players they started with, Ghana probably would have gotten walloped, not less than 8-0. That's a terrible performance witnessed by Ghanaians in the early hours of today when the senior national team played the United States of America. My colleague, Maestro, he's in the US. He spoke to some football fans after the game, and they are saying that this Black Stars team has got no future.
That's a game because the way I support it, to come and support the crowd now. You know what I'm saying? Support the support our people now. I mean, we don't know what's going on. If this is the team that we have there, then I really don't know, sir. You know, I don't think that we have a future.
Your future now. Your future there, your way to look at
my money, the way pan and you say Ghana, there is about to America, so they say America. I can't want to almost play Ghana, man. Oh, wait, yeah.
You will be a year over. It's a poor performance, man. We should check out before we go to the Nations Cup. Believe me, because I don't think our boys are just playing like they're not professionals. See, they jitter on the field. No, I don't get it. They need to prepare well before we go to the Nations Cup.
The Black Stars will need to do better before the African Cup of Nations, which starts on January 13 in Cote d'Ivoire. The senior national team, after playing 5 games without a defeat under Chris Hughton, they've now suffered back-to-back losses, conceding 6 goals in 2 matches. And that's what you heard from many supporters of the senior national team when they traveled from far and near in the USA to Nashville to support the team, put up such a horrible performance. Now, let's talk about the African Cup of Nations. The competition starts on January 13 in Cote d'Ivoire, but prior to the draw that was done on October 12, Morocco's outstanding game against Liberia. They had an outstanding game against Liberia because of the earthquake that happened in the country, hitting many parts of Marrakech, Rabat, and Casablanca. Now, that game has been played and Morocco won against Liberia. As the Black Stars were losing to USA in international friendly, the French national team, they were winning their game against Scotland. They trashed them by 4-1. And also, England, they won their game. It was a Euro qualifier against Italy to secure a ticket to the Euro Championship in 2024 game. And on that note, we wrap AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. We appreciate your time.
Even before he completed secondary school, Enoch Edu-Tieku knew the exact career to pursue, woodworks. And he had the support of his parents. So at age 19, he carved his first works, a serving tray and cabinet.
I actually started practicing immediately I finished school when I was 19 years. And my first place of work was Transaco Furniture Limited. I worked there for a year and I decided to start something on my own. I started my own business under a mango tree. And then I didn't have most of the tools. So I was just producing serving trays, wooden serving trays, and the sales was good. So that's what I did. And I was able to get most of the required tools to start the business. So the interest developed, and that was enough motivation for me, you know, and I was able to gather a lot of funds, and then we started in like uncompleted house, a shed, and then finally we migrated to this current place at Oyarifa.
With over 3 decades experience, Mr. Tieku has happily and freely trained over 400 youths and students with the skills gained.
As I'm talking to you, there are 5 university students right here, you know, doing their attachment, some doing internship. So sometimes when I look back, I pray to God to give me the strength, me and my team, so that we can help the up and coming.
Transitioning into the technology space, however, needed extra hands. That's how Mr. Tieku's daughters came on board.
When my daughter came back from school, she started bringing some new laws that anything that comes from the factory should come to her for approval. Then I said, hey, then maybe this school will impact positively on this business.
But then what about this technology and social media aspect? How have they helped you with that?
Yeah, it's been great. They are handling that. I wouldn't have done that on my own. So now I'm able to go to the schools and teach. I've trained over 300.
Sylvia, the female carpenter, shares her motivation for joining her father.
I met a client at a book launch, and then when I mentioned my name, he was like, are you related to Edu Crafts? And I said yes, I was his daughter. And he's like, hey, then you have to go and work for your father. And I was wondering why. He's like, because the East Legon branch is a mess. A few days I went to the showroom, went to see for myself what this client was talking about, and I realized that it was true. And I decided to, come in and help. I also had an art background from Ibri Girls. I did visual art. So I came in with the notion of design. Yeah. So that was my approach.
And I used to work with the bank and an insurance company later on in life.
Her sister, Jessica, then explored a new venture when clients began to demand for them.
With time, the customers kept coming back for more. They kept asking, oh, if you provide us with bed, can you have someone help me with my setup? Can you help someone, give me curtains here and there? And I was like, oh, okay, so then there's a gap.
Yeah.
So why don't I make this an easy shopping experience for the clients? So then I came up with, okay, EduCraft curtains. I could actually do this and make the drapery such that it's nice to fit the aesthetics of the client's space.
The two ladies are excited about the prospects on roping in more females into the world of carpentry.
Currently, our team is made of boys, but we have identified some few female in the industry that we are supporting, and we are hopeful that when they are done with school and education, they'll join us and grow the EduCrafts families.
And this is a job that I'm proud of, and I'm able to teach other people to also be proud of, because it's a respected profession, and trust me, I'm elated. I've actually gotten jobs from the fact that I was female, and the woman said I knew what I was about, I knew what I was saying, so she's going to give me a try. She did, and she liked it.
Wow.
Yes, so I feel it's challenging, and it's a reason why I'm not going to give up. I mean, I'm going to still push.
Mr. Tieku, who says he's very comfortable knowing his daughters will best manage the EduCraft furniture business, wants parents to know this.
Yeah, some of the parents don't want their children to learn the trade, but it's amazing. I finished lecturing and a lot of students came to me complaining that they want this very subject, but the parents says no. So, that's a problem. I believe it will be solved. So please, parents should allow the youth or their children, to go through this course. And it's a nice profession, honestly. Furniture making is a lovely profession.
For Joy News, I am Hannah Odame.
Welcome back. How about starting the big stories with that story of hope? These are people out there, even in the circumstances we find ourselves, they find that silver lining behind the dark cloud. Well, we're back getting into the all-important matter of government asking bondholders to accept a nominal haircut of as much as 40%. Now, this is after some government bonds took a nosedive. They slumped, and Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta disclosed that Ghana had submitted a debt reworking proposal containing huge haircuts on both principals and interests. But what exactly does Ghana want? What will be the implications of all of this on the pot of our economy? Today on the AM show, we engage our analysts. We have Professor Lord Mensah, Associate Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School. We also have Professor John Gachi, Dean, UCC School of Business. But to help us situate the conversation, my right-hand man when it comes to these matters, Isaac Kofi Ajay, data analyst at Joy News. Isaac, do you see how happy you've made me? Do you see how I'm smiling?
Good morning, man.
Good morning. And to Prof and Prof, a very good morning to you both.
Good morning. If you can hear me.
Yes, and the distinct baritone of Prof on the other side. Are you on the UCC campus, Prof? Professor Gachi?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to hear the baritone one more time. I'm in that mood this morning. But to situate the conversation, Kofi, so what does all of this mean? 40%, that's quite a haircut. But break it down for our viewers into bite-sized pieces. What does this really mean?
Well, so Ghana is looking for not just 40% haircut on principal. So we are requesting between 30 to 40% on principal and not more than 5% on interest. And if you look at our external debt portfolio, the Eurobond portion is actually the biggest. So I was looking through the 2022 debt reports, and as of 2022, we still had outstanding Eurobonds worth some $13.5 billion. And if you look at the presentation that the finance minister did in Washington at the beginning of the year to external creditors, you realize that Ghana targeted about $20.5 billion that we want to restructure. Of this target, the actual amount that we want to restructure or get fiscal space from is about $10.5 billion. But looking at our current debt obligation or debt servicing for 2023, which is estimated around $3 billion, that is the reason why we need, and that's just on interest, Ben. And so if you look at the interest that we have to actually pay to Eurobond creditors and other loans that we have.
Kofi, please hold for me. I do not know whether Professor Mensah or Professor Gachi has muted or not unmuted, because I'm getting feedback. But thank you very much. If you could just mute for me so we don't get that feedback. Kofi, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the huge, debt servicing obligation that we have just on interest and other charges that we have to pay for 2023 has actually necessitated this. And so if you look at the IMF program, we have to do a debt restructuring at the external level to win us fiscal breathing space of about $10.5 billion over the course of the program. But 30 to 40%, it simply tells you that the government is saying the outstanding Eurobond that they have, which is $13 billion, they will not be able to probably pay everything. And so they want a debt relief. So debt relief means that they want the creditors to write off about 30 to 40% of the debt. And the loans that they took, if you look at the average interest rates of the loans, is between 6 to 11%. And so if you are looking for a 5% haircut on interest too as well, it simply tells you that government wants a reduction in the interest. And they are doing this so that they can continue with their debt servicing obligation. They are doing this so that they don't find themselves wanting where the small liquidity that they have in terms of foreign exchange, they wouldn't use everything to make, service debts and then also pay interest. And so the Eurobond is a crucial aspect of this whole debt restructuring, and it comes with this, complex and sophisticated, legal systems around it. It's not like the DDEP that we did, where government was able to take unilateral decisions. This time around, you need to engage creditors at various levels. After Eurobond, which is the commercial aspect, you need to engage bilateral creditors. You need to engage big countries like China. You need to engage groups like the Paris Club as well. And so, Ben, if you ask me, 30 to 40%, today I was just reading on Reuters, some of the creditors have already shown signs of not, taking such a significant haircut. It's very, very huge. It means that whatever debt that you have with government, whatever principal that you have with government, you are willing to take a haircut of 40%, reduce the value or the actual amount by between 30 to 40%, and then also expect less from your coupon payments when government is in a good position to start paying.
Isaac, hold for me. Let me bring in Professor Lord Mensah onto this. We knew this was coming at some point, but were you looking at 40%? Did this take you by surprise?
Good morning to our viewers once again. Good morning to my co-panelists. Government has a target in the entire, restructuring. And the entire restructuring, they're looking at around $10.5 billion, dollars. And if you look at the domestic restructuring, the recent presentation that was done by the finance minister, he gave the signal that they are saving around 61 billion Ghana cedis. In dollar terms, that is about 5 point something billion. So that covers about half of the target government is looking out for. And then if you are to take the external Eurobond structure into play, you come to understand that we're looking at, as of last year, around 13.5 billion. 5% of that in nominal terms, I'm not going to talk about what we call the coupons and all those. 5% of that is around 5.2%. So when you put the two together, you get a 10.5 that, government is 10.5 billion that government is looking out for. So it has to do with a target. And of course, this is an offer on the table. And being an offer on the table, you don't expect the investor to respond, 100% to say that we are going to accept, your offer. The investor also has a say. This has to do with negotiations. Unlike, the domestic market where government had control, more or less, where the investors' alternative, use of funds was quite limited. And as a result of that, government pushed down, most of the conditions down the throat of the investor. But then the external creditors' position is different. Government approach that government adapted in our environment, they cannot use the same, approach, because over there, they understand the investment space very well, and they have alternative use of their funds. And of course, even though they've enjoyed certain premiums over the years, if you take, the time we're giving them 6 to 11%, the Americans and all those were giving 1% thereabout. So these investors have been enjoying about 5 to 10% risk premium over the past years. And so, having understood the risk that they were going in for and the premium they've enjoyed, I believe they will be prepared to come to the table. But to the tune of the 40%, like I said, it has to do with the target our government has. It may not achieve, that 40%, but let's see how the investors are going to react. Now, if you study out the market from Bloomberg this morning, if you study the market, investors have started reacting, by, pulling out, their investment in the government bonds. And as a result of that, we've seen some downwards, spiral in the price of the bond. So effectively, it has to do with the target of the government and what the investor is looking out for. If you are to go for restructuring, and this time I've heard the finance minister, being careful not to use the restructuring word. He said, debt rework, so you're going to work on the debt again. And working on the debt again, whichever way you look at it, it has to do with haircut. And I believe that the investor community will respond as such. We're not going to struggle that much from the external market because they know, they understand the investment. They have invested to the tune of looking at, okay, fine. As an experienced investor, I understand there are losses in investment. But the question is, what is my extreme loss? Those are the caliber of investors government is going to deal with. They appreciate the investment dynamic. Unlike our environment where some of the investors were even thinking that, government bonds, government will never default. And they were taking it as a risk-free instrument, which is counter to what we teach in class. Where I teach, when I'm teaching, I tell the students that, look, once the dynamics of the bond is dictated by demand and supply of funds, definitely there's an exposure. And with this exposure, whatever, even treasury bills, you should appreciate that there's that kind of levels of risk in there. So the investor community that we are now going to deal with, which is the external investor, is quite sophisticated. They appreciate, the investment dynamics. And at this time, they are counting their losses by the extreme side. Yeah, they are counting their losses by the extreme side. So we can get a deal with them. I don't think we're going to struggle that much as compared to what happened in the domestic market.
Let me bring in Professor Gachi. How did you receive this news? And 40%, that's pretty hefty. Professor Mensah has already spoken about the boons they enjoyed in the good times, but will they be willing to accept a haircut of up to 40%? And what will this mean for us in terms of borrowing in the future?
John is muted.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think the whole issue about debt exchange program or reworking of debt is based on the fact that you have a creditor who must decide what should happen. You need to appeal to the conscience. You need to appeal to the creditor community to accept your position. So I believe it's going to be a discussion and negotiation that will come to some agreement at a point.
Right.
But the point is for a creditor, especially external creditor, to accept that I want to lose 40% of my principal and lose 5% of my interest. That creditor should be convinced that indeed the government is not actually in position to pay the debt. Then number two, if the debt is not paid, which one is the best for the creditor? So by that discussion, maybe a middle way will be found along the line for agreement. So that is how it is. So you may have your target, but your target cannot be imposed on the creditor. You may want to save your currency by ensuring that the amount of money you are paying to creditors is reduced to give some respite to the currency. You may want to work your debt books to let the books look good by setting some target, but those targets, they are not legally binding. Those targets are not the conclusion. So I believe this is just the first step. We have seen creditors reacting negatively to that call. So the government should be aware and then think about what to put on the table next. But I believe the 40% is not in the interest of creditors. That's what they are reacting.
So you say it's not in the interest of creditors. How do you expect the creditors to react?
They've started reacting negatively. We saw what is happening was reported at least I think yesterday when the announcement came. So the bonds start plummeting. So that is the signal they are sending. So I believe further negotiation is needed. This is not the end of the negotiation process.
Let me quickly bring in.
We must also not forget that creditor, borrower relationship is rooted in law.
Indeed.
So yes, it's rooted in law, because you are taking this money and promise them that you will be able to pay when the maturity comes. You'll be able to pay the coupons thereon on the debt. That is an agreement that you have signed. You must go by the agreement. If you can't go by the agreement, you cannot impose your way on the agreement just because you cannot pay. Because if you cannot pay, there are many ways by which the creditor can take that money from you. So convincing the creditor is the way to go. But just setting your target and imposing that target on the creditor is as though you don't want the creditor's support. And you cannot do that the way you do it in the domestic debt exchange. When you do that in the external creditor community, you will fail.
Thank you for those interesting points. Isaac, just a quick one to run by you. You've heard Professor Gachi say that 40% is not in the interest of the creditors. The creditors will always work in their interest. They may accommodate some of what the debtor will come forward with. But in the end, they are looking at their interest. That's why they made this investment. From where you sit, what do you see in terms of debt servicing ahead, specifically related to the Eurobond and facilitating our debt? Isaac. Kofi Ajay, did you get that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, first of all, we must note that some of the original, holders of our bonds have already traded them off. So you are going to deal with a new set of creditors. But if you look at the debt servicing ahead in the Eurobond market, for the next 10 years, we are looking at close to $8 billion of loans that will be maturing in the next 10 years. There was a chart that you showed, if you can show it again, in 2023, which is this year alone, we have about 148 million of those bonds maturing just this year. interest rate is still rising. And just like profs, they've all mentioned, 30 to 40% is really high. And we know a number of countries that are still in court with, some of these countries that attempted debt restructuring, and they want their monies back because that was not the arrangement you actually, agreed with them. And once you start to act as if you are imposing a certain form of what you want or magnitude of haircut, then they will take you on. At the beginning of the year, we heard the finance minister. He made a very categorical statement that the finance ministry or the government was not so sure the magnitude of haircut that the investor community or the external creditors or commercial creditors were willing to take. And we heard of 30% initially. That was the first impression we got when the deputy finance minister spoke about the external restructuring. Now we've seen additional 10 percentage points added to the initial target of 30. Now they are looking close to between 30 to 40. So it tells you that once we keep delaying with the external debt restructuring, we may have to request for even higher magnitude in the haircut, because at the beginning you're looking for 30. Now, because you've delayed and your debt servicing obligation and things are not really going on well, you are adding additional 10%. And just like Professor Mensah said, when you delay, some of these things will come at you, and you need that fiscal space to breathe. So once you keep delaying, then it means you need to go ahead to impose higher haircuts. We've seen that occur in the domestic markets where we thought just first round would be okay, but as we speak, we are looking at a third round. And if we don't take care, if we don't do the restructuring or debt rework at the external level really well, we may have to go back in the next month, 6 months or a year again, requesting for additional haircuts.
Those are interesting points you make. Professor Mensah, are you in agreement with Isaac on those points? And you look at, he mentions the magnitude of the haircut, and now we're adding another extra 10 percentage points. Now, is this going to lead to our getting priced out of the market? Currently, we can't access, the creditor market internationally. We're seeking a haircut. But in this instance, looking into the future, is it going to price us out of the market? What will the consequences be, Professor Mensah?
We've already been priced out. I mean, this is a market, the last time we visited the market was somewhere around 2022, January. So we've been priced out already. But then, as to whether we'll be able to go back to the market or not, it has to do with, how we utilize, the fiscal space that will be created after the debt restructuring. And I'm praying, that administration upon administration should be able to utilize that fiscal space. Because if you are indirectly saving, for instance, on the domestic market, about 61 billion, it means it reduces your debt service by that margin. And when you go for the external market, restructuring, and you hit the same target, then it tells you that at least over 120 billion will be something that will be indirectly saved, which at the end of the day will enhance, the country's, debt service capacity. And if we are to utilize that space very well, be able to, grow the economy in a direction where our export will be increasing, it should be able to build up into our external debt service capacity. And that will go a long way to improve our ability. And by so doing, we'll open up the market for us again. So I would say that, for us to have access to the market, we may have to utilize the fiscal space that will be created as a result of, the debt restructuring very well.
I'll come to Professor Gachi with the same question. But before I do, Professor Mensah, a quick top up. Is this going to end up leading to an extension of the duration of our IMF program, do you think?
Well, you see, if you are managing a country and your fiscal space keeps on reducing and ability to maneuver tends to reduce, obviously, you may want to continue with what will give you that free space. IMF tends to give us that kind of credibility. And trust me, without the IMF's presence, going all the way to the market ourselves to renegotiate our debt would have been something, different. And so if we think, being with IMF is what is going to give us that leverage of, fiscal space, then probably we may be better off extending, the facility to more than the 3 years that we're looking at. So it has to do with, the fiscal space that we are looking at, and then, the leverage that we are enjoying. I mean, the 3 billion itself that IMF is giving us is something, that will not necessarily change, the situation in Ghana. But then that kind of soft, collateral that we are getting from IMF, which has to do with their backing in, having access to the international market and all those, is something that we can take advantage of. So from where I sit, yeah, there's a possibility that the program can be extended.
Would it be a step in the right direction to attempt to, extend it?
Well, sequentially, if you look at our history and relationship with the IMF, I mean, we always stick to the timelines in our first engagement with them. It won't be bad to look at something of that sort where we can extend the facility. Before we even exited the IMF in 2018, 2019, thereabout, some of us were requesting that the economy is in the right trajectory. And as a result of that, why don't we extend, the relationship or the kind of engagement so that the economy will be in its footing for some time? But look at what happened. Immediately we exited the IMF, it turns out that we are free to do whatever we want. And that has brought us back to, the situation that we find ourselves in now, where we had to visit the IMF again. So if we can go out of the norm, and then extend the facility, just to look at what will happen in our, economic space, it will be a step in the right direction. I will make on that.
Professor Gachi, so the same set of questions to you as well, starting from pricing out. We are not on the international, borrowing market, and for good reason. We all know why. That is why we're seeking this IMF program. What price out effects or knock-on effects could this have for us, for our economy moving forward? And then there is also the issue of the IMF. Would it be realistic? Would it be in our interest to extend the duration to be able to deal with some of these shortfalls? What's your take?
Yeah, before I come to that, let me briefly talk about the complication about the delay in achieving external creditor agreement.
Sure.
You see, some of the commercial debts are tradable. And when they trade the debt, and if we are unfortunate for the debt to go into the hands of those that we call vulture investors, if those people let hold on our debt, become the new holders of those debt instruments, the way they treat these issues is different from the way multilateral and investors treat the debt. And that will be very devastating for the economy.
But are there not mechanisms? Are there not mechanisms in place in the situation that Ghana finds itself, where maybe creditors or lenders should be restricted when it comes to selling off debt to such parties when you have a country on the ropes like Ghana does? Are there no international regulations on that?
They're investors, period. So we ought to be very careful about where we are going. If not so, Argentina issues will happen to us, and then some of our prize assets may be attached in the future. These are the fears that I can talk about now. Now, you see, it is too early to talk about extension of IMF program. We are barely thinking about the second tranche in the first year. We should be focusing on how we'll be able to achieve all the targets that we have on the program. When we get to the tail end and we see that we are not achieving some of the targets and extension of the program will help us achieve that, then we can talk about extension. But I believe that talking about extension of IMF program at this point in time is too early in the day, and we should be focusing on the terms of the agreement and the benchmark that have been set for the various sector, for the various areas of the program. And I also believe that we should be talking about the importance of growth and the importance of how we can bring back productivity. Because remember, if you're doing debt sustainability analysis and you are looking at the fiscal indicators, you will come across exports. So we need to be working towards how we can expand our export base, how we can get into new destinations with our export, how we can bring aboard a new export commodities that we are not yet putting on the international market. That is very important to be able to rake in or moderate the external fiscal vulnerabilities. Then again, we need to be talking about growth, and growth comes with productivity. We need to be working to, create the environment for growth to take place, because you need growth to tame debt to GDP ratio, for example. You need growth to actually get the revenue that you need. You need growth to do almost everything. So if we are discussing all these things without focusing on these key areas, I think that will not be helpful. My conclusion is that we are priced out of the international debt market. That is not forever. When we work our way right, we get our fiscals right, we get our growth momentum right, we will get back to the debt market. But we should also have in our mind that nobody will lend to us just merely because the IMF is with us. Because if you go for, let's say, a 10-year bond, largely the investor know that the IMF will not be with you before maturity. So all those things will be priced into the decision that the investor make. I believe the investor doesn't look at only today and the past to take decision about his investment. He will look at the future. So what I think we should be doing now is how to focus on achieving the terms of the IMF program.
Professor Mensah, for you, from where you sit, what will be the knock-on effect of some of these original bondholders selling their coupons to some of these other parties? You've heard Professor Gachi talk about the voucher lenders or creditors. What's your take on that? And how dangerous is it for Ghana? Professor Mensah, you'd have to unmute, please.
Right. So we are looking at bonds and the conditions attached to it. If you're an investor and you purchase a bond on the market, you understand probably the risk that goes with it and the returns that is expected of the bond. So this will not change. But then, as an investor, if you put yourself in the investment, then obviously we are looking at behavioral issues where an investor will say, I'm not ready to accept the 40% that is being accepted, that is being proposed by the government of the day. So if you look at it carefully, the investor sentiment will play a major role when the bond changes hands. But then I don't think that will be much of a major problem, because the bond has its own tenure. It has which builds up into the risk that the bond comes with. It has the issuer has not changed. Our economy as we speak now has deteriorated, and of course our ability to service the debt has gone down. So if you're an investor and you are buying such a bond, you should know the possible repercussions and then the exposures that you may have. So I would say that the investor community, when it comes to our external space, they are sophisticated investors. they understand the market very well. And that is why in my earlier submission, I mentioned that they know there are losses in investment and there are gains in investment. Those investors don't just count their losses. They look at their extreme loss. And so the questions they will be asking themselves is, what is the extreme situation? What is the downside level of risk that, they are likely to be exposed to? And having that in play, knowing very well that if the country should go into trouble completely, you may lose your money, without necessarily recouping the money back as expected. And remember, these monies are people's pensions, they are people's, what we call it, investment, real estate investment and other things that have been, some part of it have been, have found its way into, our, bond space. And so, the portfolio manager who is sitting out there looking into Ghana will prefer to have, as quick as possible, debt rework, and so that, the debt service can continue to operate. And let me tell you one thing. If you look at the percentage of allocations that portfolio managers do, from Europe and other parts of the world, looking at investment in Africa, they don't do more than 5% of their portfolios in Africa. Yes, if you look at the numbers clearly. And so if you are an portfolio manager and you are sitting out there and less than 5% of your investment, is about to go on default, obviously you will not have that kind of hold up when it comes to, negotiations. And that is why I'm saying that there's a likelihood of, having a quick, debt rework. And whether the investment changes hands or not, the space is the same. The investor is the same.
Quick intervention.
So we're not going to have much, problem when it comes to, the debt restructuring, whether it's somebody buys it or, a voucher or what do we call it?
Whether it's a vulture or a chicken.
Investor buys it or not.
Right.
I don't think we may have that much of a problem.
Okay, so vulture or chicken, it's going in our way. But you look at the fact that some of these lenders or creditors are also owed by other countries, also on the ropes in the emerging, market, for example, emerging countries market. You look at the South American countries, you look at even some Asian countries, we've seen them largely affected. Will things still be the same? Because some of these same creditors could be lending to some of these entities. What then would that mean? Would it be as easy peasy as you make it, seem?
Like I said, if you study international investment and bond allocations, I have friends who work in Switzerland and were mates at the university at the time. And they tell me that, yes, for African bonds and the emerging market bonds, clearly, they know the risk, right? And they know the premium they also enjoy out of the risk. And they were not prepared to invest more than 5% of their portfolio in African bonds. So, per portfolio analysis and allocations, there's always a room for extreme situations. And 5% is the maximum they can accommodate, on their balance sheet. So the pressure is not that much on them. And that is why I believe we can easily get, a deal, on this external debt restructuring.
Professor Gachi, now our securities have posted some of the worst performances, on the international indexes, especially when you're looking at emerging markets like ours. What is the possibility then of securing some agreement with our commercial debtors by end of year? If you put this, vis-a-vis the fact that by end of year, we want to reach some sort of agreement, how practical is it?
Well, I will not put a date on that because this is not the first time we are hearing that we have clinched a deal with them, only to realize that we have not. Even the initial statement that the finance minister made at Morocco, it sounds as if that everything was sealed. It is only after a few days that we start realizing that we are now reworking very hard to ensure that we achieve that. So it is very difficult to put a date on that. We only hope that it comes as fast as possible. And when that happens, that will also take some pressure away from us, and that will rework the instrument. And I believe that they will receive good ratings as we go along, because that is also very important for our domestic debt management. That is also very important for the outlook of our instrument in the international market. So that is what I can say about this. But it is not good to put a date on it, as we keep changing goalposts along the line.
Professor Mensah, I'll put that same question to you. The emerging markets index and the slump of or our performance so far, will that impact maybe our goal of securing by end of year some deal with our commercial creditors?
Right. So when it comes to some of these agreements and economic dynamics, I'm careful when I'm going out with numbers. I mean, because it has to do with human behavior, and you don't know what the mind will tell somebody tomorrow. So effectively, to say specifically, we can have a deal by the end of the year or not. When you split our creditor space into two, we have bilateral, creditors, and then we have, commercial creditor, which form the Eurobond market. And that group are quite a complex group. I mean, let me put it that way, because of the kind of investment they are holding. I mean, these are people's money, But then when it comes to the bilateral, credit agreement, those ones are more or less block, negotiations, and it's easy to have a deal with them. And that is why, if you read, the finance minister's statement for the bilateral, debt, they are looking at somewhere in November. And then for the Eurobond and those complex ones, which has several investors with their demands and different, look into the whole investment, that they have. They are looking at end of the year. But we should be careful, because we are now going into negotiations, and like I said, the finance minister shouldn't look at the process as he did in the local market, because the local market, the investors were tied. And looking at our pensions regulations and the investment space, the investor had no alternative, use of his money, than to stick to the debt restructuring. But when it comes to the international market, the investor have a bigger space, and the little thing that you do, you can, raise that kind of disinterest, from your bonds when you are negotiating with this external creditor. So we shouldn't go by the same approach. We should appreciate that, yes, of course, it will take a lot of information. Release of information. Let the creditor know the true stand of the Ghanaian economy, and over time, I think we should be able to get a deal with them. I would say end of the year, maybe too quick, but we hope. And if it happens like that, it will be, beneficial to all of us. So we hope that we get something of that sort.
Gentlemen, to cap off the conversation, your quick thoughts on moving forward, what your expectations are by end of year leading into the first quarter of next year, as far as Ghana's fortunes in this regard, our creditors. I'll start with you, Isaac Kofi.
Well, but let me say that Ghana will in the future become a template for other countries also seeking for commercial, restructuring. And so I see the Eurobond creditors, they will be very careful, because whatever you give to Ghana, you have other countries also coming to you asking for restructuring. And so they will be very, very careful and measured in the kind of haircuts they give to Ghana, because you give Ghana 40, another country will come asking for 50, another poorer country will come asking for maybe 60. And they will be very careful. They will make sure that they are at equilibrium, because the assurance we are talking about is not just from the the person who has borrowed, but also from the creditor as well. So the Eurobond creditors, they need assurance from us. We also need assurances also from them. And so I see them being very careful in the magnitude of haircut that they will give to Ghana, because whatever that they will do will probably be a template for other countries to follow, just like the way we refer to Zambia when we are talking about restructuring of Chinese, loans. And so there's opportunity cost for both ends. And then I know that the Eurobond creditors and even Ghana as well, we all be looking for that equilibrium to make sure that we all don't lose an amount that we can't afford to maybe lose. So I would say that they will be very measured, and just like the profs have already said, both profs, it will be a complex negotiation for Ghana. And just like, other countries have attempted this whole thing and are facing legal issues, if we don't take care, we may have to really, escalate this whole issue if we don't really tackle the situation well.
Interesting perspectives. I saw Professor Gachi and Professor Mensah nodding along the way. What would be your take, Professor Gachi?
Well, as I said, the investor will not say because he has enjoyed premium, therefore he wants to trade the premium for the loss today. That is the incentive available for the investor when he enters into the market. The investor will be looking at what you are proposing today to him and look at perhaps the present value of that and see whether he's comfortable with it. So that is why we are going to be trending. And that is the more reason why we are divided the investors into two. Multilateral, they will be flexible, etc. But we have what we call investor characteristics. The other ones in the commercial sector, their characteristics is not the same as the multilateral ones. So that is what we're going to be seeing. And then I also think that if necessary, for this deal to be signed within time, the government should also be looking at revising what is putting on the table for these deals to be signed.
You mean revising the 40% haircut? Is that what you mean?
Of course. Since the creditors are actually refusing this term, it is only proper that you go back to the table with something that is more acceptable.
From where you sit, what would be more acceptable?
Of course, it's going to be win-win situation.
From where you sit,
it should be a win for the investors, and it should be a win for the economy of Ghana.
What would be more practical? What percentage of a haircut would be more practical from where you sit?
I don't know what the investors will be looking at. We are talking about principle here. But if I want to give you a rate or a percentage, that means that I'm just looking at targets. So the government will work out a target that is more acceptable to the investor community to accept.
Professor Mensah, you have the final word.
Yes, so I'll put myself in the shoes. I'll put myself in the shoes of a typical Eurobond investor who is looking at how he can retrieve his restructured, bonds, and government is not looking at anything beyond below 2030. So effectively, if government should restructure the bonds, at what level? Would the government be able to consistently or sustainably pay my, debt after the restructuring has taken place? That is what the investor should look at. Because if you don't look at it that way, and then you squeeze the government to a point where you force them to restructure at a level where they will not be able to service your restructured debt, you will end up, facing another restructuring or possibly even default. So, like I said earlier, the investors' knowledge, the investment space, knowledge is important, and knowledge has to do with information. The investment, space, knowledge as far as our external creditors is concerned when it comes to investment is completely different from the Ghanaian environment. And, you know, I believe that, you know, the investor who is sitting out there will be able to, by this time they've done all the numbers, and then, you know, they are ready to hit a point where, you know, they know very well that our government, after the restructuring, will be able to service its debt, rather than squeezing the government to maybe do a debt restructuring of about, you know, 10% in the nominal sense. And still have no room to, you know, service the debt after the debt restructuring. So it has to do with a convergent point. Our government may want to do more. I mean, if you give the government a chance, I mean, they may want to even do 50%, to make more room, I mean, to have money to even run elections going forward. But, you know, the investor also foresee this risk, you know, the possibility of overspending, you know, when we get into elections and all those. So by so doing, they may not want to squeeze the government so much to a level where, you know, government may restructure. At the end of the day, they will not be able to service, you know, its debt.
Well, only time will tell what the creditors will decide. Of course, they'll be looking at their interest, and it is merely on compassionate grounds. Also for the reason of ensuring that they can get something rather than nothing from these investments they have made. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Isaac Ofie-J is a data analyst here with us at Joy News. Professor John Gachi, of course, is Dean of the UCC School of Business. And then we also had Professor Lord Mensah, who is with the University of Ghana Business School, a finance lecturer. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. So that's been the first belt of our conversation, but we go now to talk about the National Union of Ghana Students. There's been a leadership change, and of course we'll be telling you all about it. The term of Apialabi is over, and Nukes is now being headed by Treme Opong Daniel. But what does he envisage? What is the status when it comes to the student front in Ghana at that level? How can leadership be made better, and how can the ordinary student at that level get better? Well, we'll be having that discussion up next on the AM show with Bernice Abuwe-Lansa. Do stay.
Hello, good morning to you. This is the AM show with me, Bernice Abuwe-Lansa. Much earlier, you saw Benjamin Akakwo having that very, very important discussion about what's at stake for us when it comes to restructuring our debt on the external front. But it's now time to talk about student leadership here in Ghana. And this morning I've been joined by the new president of the National Union of Ghana Students, Nukes. And he is in the person of Daniel Opong Treme. Good morning to you, Daniel. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine, and you?
I'm good. We can't complain, can we? But I must just say congratulations are in order. You take on the very huge task of leading Ghanaian students, not only locally, but internationally. I wasn't part of those who voted, so I'm not too sure how you managed to convince them, but tell us what you did to win this position.
All right. A very good morning to us all. A good morning to all Ghanaian students out there. I'll say a build up to our elections. I think at this critical moment, what Ghanaian students were expecting was a leader who is going to be there for them, a leader who is going to bring all these student leaders on board so that we can collectively fight for a lot of positive advocacies. And over the past few years, I served the union as the Secretary for Education.
Okay.
And in serving, one of the key things we did was to draw various SRCs closer, draw various facets of the union closer, make them feel that the union belongs to them as well.
Right.
We traveled on the boat, went to basic schools up north to see the challenges they were going through, and also contributed our quota in changing their lives, where even in places like Dambai English and Arabic school, students who used to sit on the floors, lives were changed and now they are sitting on the desk. our union is known basically for advocacies. And always I say that before we work on advocacies, we should be able to build proper structures for a positive advocacy. So we were looking at building the structures, solving some of the challenges these students are facing. Then moving on, we can be able to have a well-constituted front to fight and also push for a lot of advocacy. So looking at the things we've done in the past, people gain that confidence that if for nothing at all, this particular individual, if you vote for him, we'll be able to push the student cause. And God being so good, we're able to maneuver our way through, and now today I'm the president for the over 12.5 million Ghanaian students in this particular country. And for the past 56 years, what we've been known for is advocacies. We played a pivotal role in the establishment of Get Fund, Student Loan Trust Fund, training allowances, and a whole lot of positive stuff which has been initiated by our front. Now, at this critical moment, what our alumni and all other bodies are also looking up for is a reincarnated energy where we could still push for a lot of advocacy issues worrying our students. We have that bold, courageous leader who still push for student cause, and that is what we seek to do in this administration. So my vision and mission is just linked to building those structures to see in pushing for these positive advocacies out there.
Interesting. It sounds like you're still on the campaign platform. But I mean, I can't let you go without asking this question. And I have been following student leadership, student politics over the years. And one thing that didn't make it attractive for me was if I must say, the takeover of NDC and MPP in student politics. You said that you're trying to bring students together, right? You're trying to create a united force. But I dare ask, which of the sides are you on?
All right. Always I say this particular thing when I'm addressing my students, that the work as a student leader is quite different from finding yourself in any of these political parties. Today myself, as I'm sitting here, I might be connected to any of these parties, but the work I do for the student is quite distinctive from
But it plays strongly in your politics. In your last elections, right, it was very obvious. I know it's been there've been the undercurrents, but the last elections, not yours, the one before yours, it was very obvious. And I've actually seen one of the aspirants who lost go on to support major political leaders who are vying to be MPs or presidents and that kind of thing. So we can't shy away from it, Daniel. Sure. It's unfortunately become a character of nukes, which many people believe is not inuring to the success, the united front that you want. So which side are you on, and what are you hoping to do to build that united front that you're talking about in student leadership?
This is what we are looking at. I think one of the first programs we had was the leadership workshop, which was going to psych our members up and also prepare themselves for the future we seek to achieve. It is quite disheartening that some past years you could have NDC MPP deciding where the National Union of Ghana students should go to. They'll be deciding this quota should be taken by the NDC, this quota should be taken by the MPP. In my administration, as the 57th NUCS president, it's never going to happen. The activities of the union, the decisions of the union will never be decided by any political party in this particular country. The student front, we own whatever thing we do, and we are not going to give room for any political party to decide who should lead our front or any decision we should take. We don't fear any political party in this particular country, and that decisions and any action that will be taken in this particular union will be solely linked to the activities of student front. So that's how come we are building structures. Recently, we organized over 23,000 SHS leavers at the Black Star Square. We had some skills training. We psyched them up for the future we want to see. On the 21st, we are having all leaders in the country meeting at Sunyani to also discuss all these kind of things. I'm sure that if we're able to sit together, we join our forces together and we plan very well. Student activities, student activism, and a lot of things we want to achieve will indeed see the fruition. One thing is, over the past 18 months, even as we speak, nursing trainees have not been paid their allowances, 18 good months. Each and every year, hostel prices keeps skyrocketing. From just last year, a price of 4,000 cedis in a 4-in-a-room hostel now is 8,000 cedis. And every year we've been speaking consistently about it, getting to the media, engaging stakeholders, and nothing is happening. And at a point, you can also link it up to these political infiltrations, because you speak to issues and they tell you, keep quiet. But this particular time, it's never going to happen. Because if you don't speak to certain issues, there's no way critical matters worrying our student front will be catered for. And we want to assure the 12.5 million Ghanaian students in this particular country that this is the kind of leader you are having. All hostel prices, which nobody is talking about, nursing training allowances and other pertinent issues worrying our student front are going to be a thing of the past. And I'm very sure that the structures we are building, if all student leaders, if all facets of the National Union of Ghana students are able to join forces together, I'm sure we will get afar. We've met Dampare just last week to discuss other security matters and most of the things we want to administer.
You mean IGP Dampare?
Yeah, IGP, yeah. And on the 21st, I think we'll be having him at our Central Committee meeting to discuss worrying issues. Just yesterday, we met the Deputy Minister of Education. We submitted a petition. We wanted to embark on a picketing, but per our consultations, we had to engage them first to know the way forward. I think one of our issues has to do with the special school student with disability and all that. I feel over the past years, there's not been any attention given those crop of students. So we wrote a tall petition to the minister, which we submitted yesterday. We'll be sending, we're making the communique and other things on the media, God willing, tomorrow. So we submitted that petition, which is a build-up to the things we are looking up to see. That the government should at least shift some of its attention to these special schools. We should find ways and means to assist them. And anytime you speak about this issue, the National Union of Ghana students takes steps in addressing some of these issues. That's how come we've had a 6-unit classroom block at Kasana and Kana. So now we are talking about government investing in education. Then the National Union of Ghana students have already taken a step towards this particular thing. God willing, Friday we'll be embarking on a donation project to these special schools from our coffers as the National Union of Ghana students. So now, when we submit a petition, it clearly tells you we've already taken an action towards the particular problem we are addressing. So in the coming days, this is what we will be doing. The nursing training allowances and other stuff were also tabled before the minister. The recent flooding at Akosombo and Kita were also addressed in that particular.
And that has affected a lot of students.
Exactly.
You know, school is not in session. For many of them, their colleagues across the country are studying, but they cannot study. So, I mean, basically, what are you requesting from the education minister beyond the call for relief and the call for support when it comes to education for students in the flood-hit parts of the Volta and Eastern? And even I must say that this even goes beyond the Volta and Eastern region. We know that there are people in the savannah, within the Bono, some of the Bono communities, Pru East and the like, who are affected by flooding of, you know, waters feeding into the Akosombo Dam. So it's a two-way thing. But what are you demanding for these students?
All right, so our recommendation is in the 21st century, we can't have the education of our young ones jeopardized because of a misfortune. The works of NADMO shouldn't only be when there's an issue, then they rush to find practicable means to solve the challenge. In the coming days, I feel a feasibility test should be run on these vicinities that have these rivers and all those kind of things, because now we are in a way truncating the lives of these young kids when it comes to education because of this misfortune. So if you are not able to really find an immediate solution to this particular issue, our students will be wallowing in worry in their rooms, waiting that the issue be solved. We are telling our recommendation, as included in the petition we submitted, was that the government should find means. We should be able to, after the feasibility test, we should be able to find ways and means to solve this particular challenge, such that in the coming days, if this is supposed to happen, we won't have our classrooms flooded with students sitting in the house. So government should, as soon as possible, as finding ways and means to mitigate this particular challenge. We should be able to find ways and means that if it happens again, or if it's reoccur, we won't have students sitting in the house for weeks without going to school.
Yeah, but do you think that it's fair, for example, for these students to be examined at the end of the year when they've missed, you know, some of them have had their communities flooded for about 3 weeks? You know, I'm talking to their education per se, not the general welfare of these students. So you're looking at one, they're losing contact hours with your teachers. Some of them have had their classrooms being used as shelters. And so literally nothing is happening. But there's a calendar that must be followed. So what's your suggestion in that regard?
All right, so I think our recommendation when we met the minister was that all students who are affected by this flood should be moved to an immediate school which is closer. And I think the minister or the Ministry of Education is taking steps towards that particular thing as well. So all students should be moved to an immediate, a temporal educational facility around so that they could continue their education, so that they won't just sit in the house and later part will come that we are examining them because they've not really ended the academic year. So they should be moved to an immediate school so that they can continue the process. So once we are done solving this particular challenge, we then transfer them back to their schools so that you can have a smooth academic environment.
Right, there's another thing that interests me when it comes to students, but this is international. The Ghanaian students in Israel, there's unfortunately an incident involving Israel and Hamas, which is causing a lot of disturbance in that part of the world. Have you reached out to Ghanaian students there? How are they coping? What are they saying? And how are we ensuring that they are safe in the midst of all this? That's if they don't want to come home.
All right, this is a build-up to our vision on establishing most of our diaspora blocks in the various places, which in November we'll be having the NUCS US and the NUCS UK. Now we have NUCS Canada working. So in a build-up to this, we'll be having our diaspora blocks being set up. Now when this issue of Gaza-Israel thing happened, I think we reached out to the consular in Israel through mail to find out what is really transpiring, and they wrote back to us that Ghanaians are safe, and I think they are not willing to return back to the country. So if they are not willing, that means structures have been put in place. We didn't really base on that. We wanted to also get first-hand information from the student as well. One Mr. Kofu Opon, who went there for an internship on an agric project. We also called him to find out what is really transpiring, and he said the situation in there is very serious, though the government or the consular has taken practicable steps in mitigating the challenge or even transferring people from the serious areas to where they will be very convenient. So structures are being put in place to get them there, but I think they are, per the info we are getting from the students, some of them are in a very critical condition that still the consular is giving them those assurances that within a shortest possible time they will move to the convenient place so that at the end of the day, peace can prevail. We've also written to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Integration. We've also written to them to also find out what is really transpiring and all that. And we are hoping to have a meeting with them, God willing, Thursday, to also conclude on a lot of things.
All right. So if I get you clearly, you don't have an organized body in Israel, as in NUCS Israel, but you've been able to reach out to students there to find out how other students are faring. But there's no organization.
There's no organization in Israel, but we have that connection with most of the. It's a build-up. We are now establishing, as part of building a consolidated front, we are having all these facets, establishing the National Union of Ghana students in all the other sections of the world. So it's a build-up. We will definitely have the National Union of Ghana students in Israel, but there's that kind of connect between ourselves and the student who give us first-hand information on whatever thing that is transpiring, and also working tirelessly to make sure that things are well managed in there.
One of the things you mentioned about your work as NUCS president, facilitating the concerns of Ghanaian students, was the nursing allowance. That has been one of the heavily politicized aspects of training for teachers and nurses in the country. Realistically, do you think that this is something that we can or we should continue with? Arguments have been raised for and against the decision by this government to reintroduce teacher training allowances. Some say, don't give the money to the trainees, keep the money, rather expand the schools, make it more convenient for teachers and nurses to study. But there are those who say, no, still give them the monies. But we know what the story is, right? I recently hosted some trainees here who say they've not been paid for a very long time. We know what is happening with the economy. It's difficult for government to meet its obligations. Realistically, Mr. Opong Tremi. do you think that we should continue with the teacher and nursing training allowances, seeing that these students go with a lot of expectations that are really never met?
All right. First of all, our main issue has to do with the fact that we've instituted training allowances, but payment of these monies has become even problematic for the government. Though it's a good initiative, we cushion these trainees to facilitate the education. It's been 18 months and now they've not been paid, and always we would have to be moving up and down to be pleading with government to pay this nursing training allowance. If we instituted this good course, which is supposed to cushion the students, and we are not even getting the financial assistance or the funds to pay these students, then what is the essence of even having the nursing training allowance or even the teacher training allowances? At about within 4 months, 5 months, allowances are not coming. If it was consistently coming, then on any day we could say that though a good intervention, but the amount of monies are not even coming. So in my own suggestion, if you are finding difficulties in paying these allowances, then it will be prudent that it could be fused into the fees thing so that it's being paid to cater for a lot of things. Because now, when you get to the nursing training allowance, nursing training schools, most of the students who are supposed to be fed, now the allowances come, and now the feeding component has been fused in their school fees, and now their school fees also keeps on skyrocketing.
Right.
Which are now most students are even complaining on how to even pay nursing trainees fees. Now they are paying about 7,000 plus a semester, which is quite worrying and disturbing. So if at the end of the day, the allowances which has been instituted, and now you have to keep fighting for it, and it's not coming. If you don't have the proper structures to really pay for these allowances, then the allowances should be scrapped off and then being used for something else which will cushion or lessen the burdens on these students. Because if you've instituted these allowances, the allowances are not being paid, then what is the essence of even bringing the allowances to being? But if it is brought into being and it's being consistently paid, then we could clearly say that the allowances, though a good initiative, it's also helping lessen a lot of burdens, because it's 400 cedis, which on a normal day should be able to help.
400 cedis a month. 400
cedis a month, yeah. Which should be able to help the students on a lot of things. But you get there, and these 400 cedis a month, for nursing training, 18 good months, it's not in. So the student, have you asked the question, how do the students even fed for themselves on these campuses and all that? So if it's going to delay like this, then let's scrap it off and then find ways and means to, in a way, lessen.
So you'd rather have them pay less fees?
Yes, I would love them to pay less fees, just like the universities are paying, than bring in the allowances and also skyrocket the school fees, which now most of the students are not even able to attend school because of the high fees that is being paid. Some parents send their kids to the nursing training, the teacher training, thinking that allowances will come so that it lessens the school fees they are paying. Now you get to the teacher training, you get to the nursing training, and those allowances are not coming.
And the fees are
also increasing, which is quite worrying.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but your job includes senior high school students?
Yes.
Because I know we have SRCs in senior high schools. You know what's happening with feeding for students in senior high schools? Are you aware? Has it come to your attention, the state of feeding in senior high schools?
All right. The senior high schools are part of the National Union of Ghana Students. Currently, we are even working on the establishment of other 14 regional SRCs in the various regions. Now we have Ashanti region and also the Greater Accra region. The reason why we are doing this is towards my vision of building an inclusive NUC so that collectively we could push for a positive advocacy. Just last week, we submitted a proposal to the Director General of GES, hoping that he augments the establishment of the other regional SRCs so that together we could bring all those leaders on board. So when there are issues worrying the front, we could have these leaders coming from all these facets of the regional SRC discussing the progress, discussing the worrying issues and how we could clearly address some of these issues. Matters regarding feeding has been one of the key things we've been advocating for just through the Denis Appiah Labi's administration last year. I think we did, as part of the Justice for Africa thing we've been doing on the 20th of October each and every year, we advocated that the 0.95 feeding component which is being given these schools will be increased so that at the end of the day it also helped. It helps our students out there. When you get to the basic schools, not just even the senior high school alone.
So you're talking about school feeding.
The school
the
feeding.
0.95 is school feeding.
Yeah,
but for the senior high schools, the arrangement is that through the buffer stock company, food supplies are supposed to be given the schools. There are concerns about inadequate supply, inconsistent supply. There are students who have incomplete breakfast because it's not balanced. So you're given porridge without any bread. Sometimes the lunch or the supper doesn't satisfy everyone on the table. So you have a situation where some of the students who are well-to-do say, okay, you know what? I mean, I can eat from my chop box. I know parents or guardians who send 500 cedis to their wards. And this may sound bizarre to some of us, but it's happening. 500 cedis a week, not even a month, a week, because the students are having to buy food from nearby, vendors just so they can eat and have the peace of mind to learn. Closely linked to that is the issue of to review or not to review the free SHS. What is the stance of the NUGS on this? Does NUGS have a stance on the free SHS matter? You are the National Union of Ghanaian Students. I believe you know the situation on the ground, and that's why I just used the feeding as a point of reference. Beyond the feeding, there are also concerns about teachers complaining about not having enough time to rest because they have to run this cycle. In some of the schools where the track system still exists, they have to do all that. So there are so many issues when it comes to the free SHS program. Does NUGS have a stand on free SHS? Should we review it or not?
All right, our stance on free SHS. So it's all linked to the touching of the statutory funds of our education. One, the statutory fund, which is GET Fund. Last year now, GET Fund, as we speak, has been capped. And now the actual amount of money is due the various educational sectors, due the various senior high schools, what have you, is now limited. In the past days where we could have GET Fund, having a lot of structures on the various institutions, GET Fund intervention helped Kumasi Technical University, formerly K Poly, helped UDSWA, helped a lot of senior high schools in this particular country. GET Fund was reaching out in solving some of these pertinent issues in various senior high schools. Now, the main statutory funds of our education, which is the GET Fund, has been capped, which the amount of monies which are supposed to be given the various facets of our education has now been limited, which is restraining our educational sector from a lot of good things they are supposed to give our students, which the free SHS is not an exception. Now, our advice or per the research we've been making, we've come to know that even some of these parents, majority of these parents could even support their kids on the various senior high school campus. But now there's this law that government is providing everything for these students. But when you get there, the resources the government is giving these senior high schools are limited. And one surprising thing is, when you get to the senior high schools, when you get to the various places, the headmasters and the leaders of these institutions can't speak to issues because now immediately you touch on the issues, you are being victimized. You speak to the issues and now you get a call from up there that you are not supposed to do so. So when you get closer to the headmasters, they'll be like, they are worrying issues. But in quote unquote, they'll say, "Who said anyone say Okokase?" Because immediately you speak about it, either you are transferred or you are sent to other places. So we are sitting on a time bomb. People are having issues in these senior high schools that they feel genuinely we should address, but they can't speak to issues. When you speak to issues, people feel you are on the other side, and others also feel you are against the government. No, we clearly understand the situations we find ourselves in this particular country, but on any day, our education in this particular country cannot be undermined. I know this particular government really loves educational matters and want to shift most of his attention in building the necessary resources for a proper education. So we are just informing the government that if possibly in the free SHS policy, there could be some adjustment in the coming days so that it could lessen the burden on the government. Though the government is doing extremely well, looking at the the STEM staffs they are bringing up, the TVET, the new buildings they are putting up to really change the facet of our education, I feel that some attention should be given to these senior high schools. Else, you complete school as a free senior high school student, you come out and you are not having anything within you. You are virtually empty. So we should give some attention how best we could solve the challenges in there. It's a very good project. It's a very good policy that this particular government rolled out. But that notwithstanding, there are issues in there that needs to be tackled. And if these issues are tackled, I feel we will do well in this particular country.
So you want it to be reviewed?
Yes, the free SHS should definitely be reviewed. Normally, when a policy is rolled out, it's a good policy. Once it's ongoing, you get to know the challenges we are being faced or the challenges it has faced. And after noticing the challenges, then we find how we will be able to mitigate those challenges. And now it's clear. Almost every Ghanaian have seen some of the issues in the free SHS policy, which though a very good policy, we've seen the little challenges in there. So now the next thing we have to do is the government should sit and review which on any day the National Union of Ghana students should not be included. One thing I was telling the minister
should not be included or excluded.
Should not be excluded in this particular process. Sorry. One thing I was telling the minister is if indeed we say the future is youth, then whatever any decision that is being taken in this particular country that is for the youth, the National Union of Ghana students should be included in the policy making, in the policy drafting, so that we could be able to also give a clear information on what is really happening on grounds to the government so that it could favor us positively. But if the decisions are being taken and we are not included in the whole process, it's going to affect most of the things we do.
Right. Now, I'm just looking at your website and your big vision or mission includes considering the interest of all Ghanaian students home and abroad. But there's something that I like in the write-up in the introduction of NUGS, which says that the union is a democratic, non-partisan and progressive mass movement of students, both in Ghana and abroad, championing a common cause. We are also committed to advocating to inculcate a high degree of patriotism and nationalism in our students to prepare them adequately for the future of our country. About 2 days ago, I was having a conversation with two engineers from the Institution of Engineers, and they're having a public lecture on national values, professional ethics, and I think the conclusion of the problem is that many Ghanaians do not have the values that allow societies to thrive, i.e. honesty, i.e. hard work. So APOR is a big deal in Ghanaian schools, right?
That's true.
Cheating is a big deal in many Ghanaian schools. Apart from a few private universities I know of that do not even have invigilators. There are students in Ghana today who write research work, and on the first page of their research paper, they say that they make a declaration which says, I did this on my own, and append their signature to that. Many of them actually lie. Now, these young people will become leaders. Yeah. As we have seen in times past, many of the student leaders end up in one political party or the other. You become leaders, you become MPs, but there's no value of hard work. There's no value of respect. There is such an endemic problem of corruption, which doesn't start when people sit in offices when they are 30 plus. It starts right from when they are students. I just want to know, as NUGS, do you even consider this a problem? Do you see the bigger picture relating to student examination? Go to WASI centers. Invigilators are helping students. It's so appalling sometimes. And so you have people coming out with degrees, coming out with certificates that they cannot even show work for. That is troubling.
It's good you brought up this question, because over the past 1.5 years, we've been fighting and working on this particular thing. Currently, we are working with TTEL on rolling out something we call Ana Ghana into our curriculum system. Right. Because it is worrying. Just last year, some students who wrote their WASI in a particular senior high school, and now teachers were strict, no appall or whatever thing was allowed. And now, right after the exams, the students went outside and destroyed the vehicles of these teachers.
Can you imagine
Which is quite worrying, that if indeed we want a proper future, now we sit back and now people are even afraid of others not, external bodies not instigating our students to really work on a coup or something. Then we should be able to take pragmatic steps in finding solutions to this particular challenge. In the past years, where could have students willingly volunteering on a lot of things without even seeking to get any funds from any place. I remember those times when we were young, when you see an old woman carrying something, you rush quickly to help this particular woman carry their stuff to those places. But in the current situation, all those things are not happening again. So we sat down as a research team, researched into the main reason why this is happening and how we can find practicable solutions in solving this particular challenge. And that came about the Anna Ghana thing, which is trying to establish some various clubs in various senior high schools, which will be training these kids on a lot of values, a lot of honor, a lot of respect, volunteering, and all those kind of things that we are hoping to roll out. We'll be setting up a youth advisory board as well, which will be putting up ideas on how we could have a very strong curriculum which has to do with the Anna Ghana thing we'll be rolling out. So in the coming days, the National Union of Ghana Students is taking conscious effort in finding solutions to this particular challenges. So we are not going to sit aloof for this particular thing to happen. It's all geared towards the build-up thing we are hoping for the National Union of Ghana Students in the coming days. So we are working closely with TITEL, which is a subsidiary group under GES, to put up this particular structure to help solve some of these challenges we keep seeing in our senior high schools and even the other places as well.
Daniel Opontreme, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully, at the end of your tenure, we can sit again to talk about the successes you've been able to chalk and the challenges and how you hopefully will overcome all of them. But thank you so much, especially on the bit of getting Ghanaian students to be more patriotic and ensuring that we have value system in students who will end up becoming leaders. Daniel Opontreme is the NUG's president, and he's been sharing with us what he's been doing so far since he took over. I've been seeing all your messages on social media. Thank you so much for joining us via Facebook and sharing those comments with us. I see that a lot of you are friends of Daniel. You support his ideas. Ahmed Asante says, nice idea on the trainee allowances. He's got 3 likes to that. And then Dangote, the blogger, says, good submission, Mr. President. And Adonoi Emmanuel says, well answered, Mr. President. The free SHS needs a review. And Ishmael says, dear President of NUGS, your articulate and insightful submission on Ghanaian students' welfare and other critical matters is commendable. All right. And Franklin says, well answered, His Excellency. So there are just a lot of people who support, especially your response on free SHS, which the NUGS president says needs a review. And we've also been touching on the teacher and nursing trainee allowances. And he believes that if the problem it was meant to solve is now being compounded, i.e. students have to pay more fees, then there's no point having the training allowances in the first place. After all, it's not even coming anyway. So we will stay in touch with him, and we will also be bringing you more on the welfare of Ghanaian students here on the AM show. But it's now time for us to bring you AM Business, Ketsi, EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Today we tell you how Lakeside Estate developers of the Lakeside Hill project are poised to offer you, our potential customer, amazing offers at this year's EcoBank Journeys Habitat Fair.
Welcome to Lakeside Hills, a project being developed by the 2021 CIMG Real Estate Company of the Year. A year ago, this whole area was under construction, but today over 200 homes have been completed under the first phase of the project. The road infrastructure in the area has also greatly improved. Let's speak to marketing manager of Lakeside Estate, Isaac Ntiamwa, for an overview of the project. Hello, Isaac.
Hi.
Please give us an overview of the project.
All right, thank you very much. The Lakeside Hills project is a lifestyle living experience community for a comfortable living experience for families and individuals who wish to spend time in a confined community. In our project from community number 1, we came to a realization that people look out for a confined area. They are actually looking at more private and a serene environment. We sat down as a team together with management, marketing research, and we came out with the Lakeside Hills project. We call it the Lakeside Hills project because it is located at the hilly points of Lakeside Estate that oversees Abri Mountains. I mean, you have the feel of living in a confined area whilst you appreciate nature as well. The Hills project is about 5,000 homes. It's going to take from now to the next 5 years to complete the project. Currently, we have built 200 homes comprising of various clusters, including a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, a 3-bedroom with boys' quarters, and a 4-bedroom story Oka house that we can also see here. We recently launched the Lakeside Hills project 27 September 2023, and we want our audience, our customers, our buyers or home residents who are in Lakeside Estate have a new view of a serene environment that do not only focus on resting in a home, but also gives you leisure and lifestyle. We call it a lifestyle community because it comes with a multi-purpose sports complex that comprises of a basketball court, a fitness center, a clubhouse, a football pitch, a lawn tennis, and also a children's play area. Because we realize that families are being created within Lakeside Estates. And as part of our family setting, we want to give the children the ability to move from their homes, go to the community, and have a lifestyle living experience. So the overview of the project is about the whole Lakeside Hills project, and we know that between now to the next year, the various phases are going to come, and then we want our customers to know. Last year, 2022, we came here and then we realized that the project was under construction. Community 8 was sold out at the time, and we were entering into community number 9, Lakeside Hills. Currently, a lot have been occupied. People are already living in a community. Those from the diaspora, those who are Ghanaians, those living in Ghana, who wish to live in a confined and serene environment. We want our people to know, the Ghanaian community to know that Lakeside Hills is the right place for them to be.
Okay, you mentioned that there are lifestyle areas. You mentioned that there are lifestyle centers such as the sports complex. What other unique features are there at Lakeside Hills?
So the Lakeside Hills project is going to feature a multi-purpose shopping center, because in the project we have come to understand that we need shopping, we need groceries, people who have to go out, and mobility as well. In smart cities, one of the most key things that we need to identify and incorporate into the development is mobility. How people can easily have access from their homes to the nearest shopping mall. We have incorporated in a shopping mall. We also have a pharmacy. We are going to have a clubhouse, and the clubhouse will also have some form of a fitness area where people can go and gym. It will have a cafeteria, and then it will have a relaxation place where you can go and sit whilst your children play at the children play area as well.
Out of the 200 homes that have been completed so far, are there homes that are currently free that customers can come in and buy?
Yes. Out of the 200 homes that we have currently built, the 4-bedroom story Oka House Phase 1 is 100% sold out. We have the next project on the 4-bedroom unit of 12 units. 6 has been sold. We have 6 also available. So if you are looking to buy any of them, this is the right time. And when you come, you can do a selection, make a deposit whilst we build along, and then you also be making progressive payment. Some other ones have also been built and completed. About 3 of the clusters are 100% occupied. Those clusters, the next phases of all of them are also available. And then there are 1, 2, 3 units that are also available that when people want to come, buy, and move in immediately, they can have access to it. So we haven't run out of stock yet, but we still have some houses available for our potential clients who wish to live in Lakeside Estate.
Built by a driven team of experienced developers with modern architectural designs, the houses are made for all categories of people. The company also provides potential customers with a flexible payment plan to enable them acquire houses of their choice.
I see that most of the houses here are completed. How long does it take to complete a cluster?
All right, between 12 to 18 months, we finish a cluster. And then for the houses, it takes about 6 to 12 months to finish a house. But like you can see here, this is a typical cluster. Each cluster comprises of about 2 units or 20 units. So when we start construction, we lay out our construction timelines and then we develop the phases by phases depending on the house type, which one is a priority, which one is not a priority, or which one needs to finish first and then which one needs to finish the next. Each cluster will take about 15 to 18 months to finish. But in the course of the 12 or the 18 months, a house can be completed after 6 or 8 months. So this is a typical cluster that we see here, 2-bedroom deluxe units, and then we finish them within 18 months.
Okay, so do all the clusters come with the same design? Because I think most of the houses here look the same.
The clusters do not come in the same design. We differentiate our house type by design. The standard is 2 bedrooms with 1 washroom, and then the other share with visitors. And then the 2-bedroom deluxe is 2-bedroom all ensuite plus extra visitors washroom. So all comprises of space. The standard size is different from the deluxe size. So if you look at the deluxe, the design is a bit bigger and then spacious. The standard is also spacious, but in terms of size, the deluxe is much more spacious than the standard. Then the 3-bedroom also comes in 3-bedroom all ensuite with extra visitor washroom, and that is a bigger version of the deluxe.
So what category of people do you sell your houses to? Because the cost of construction materials keep going up and people want affordable homes. So how do you deal with that?
We target everybody in the industry. When we look at the real estate space in terms of housing in Ghana, it is one of our biggest challenges as a country. So we don't have a real specific people that we are saying that we are building to suit it. That is why if you look at our house types, it starts from as low as 800,000 Ghana cedis all the way to 3 million Ghana cedis. We target Ghanaians, we target those in the diaspora, families, individuals, retirees, young professionals, expatriates, so that everybody who comes to Lakeside will be able to have a house of his choice. If you can afford a 2-bedroom standard, you can do something other else, or you can look at a 3-bedroom. If you can afford a 3-bedroom with boys' quarters, you can look at a 2-bedroom deluxe. If you can afford a 4-bedroom story house, you can look at a 3-bedroom with boys' quarters option. So we have designed our product in such a way that people can have options to choose. People can have options that it will suit them. For example, if you want to get a 2-bedroom deluxe, it's a 2-bedroom deluxe, but if you look at the space, it can easily be converted into a 3-bedroom because the dining has a very spacious space that you can convert into a room because there's a family area which can be turned into a dining. So most of the people that we are looking at, Ghanaians, retirees, young professionals, families, the diasporans, and those who are also looking out for investments as well.
So do you have flexible payment plans here?
Yes, we have various payment options. 1, you can do an outright payment and get a very good discount. 2, you can do 50% and we spread the rest within 12 months. And 3, you can go through mortgage. During our launching, we mentioned our partner banks came, Republic Bank, First National Bank, Stanbic, EcoBank, and ABSA. They were all present. So if you don't have the option that you can pay an outright or spread within a certain period of time, you want to go through mortgage, that is also available. And then our houses, we are not complex. We are very flexible and efficient in terms of our payment. If you finish a project and you have not finished payment, we can write to you and let you know that we will onboard you on the next project so that that project can also be available to the market for someone who is having an outright payment, who wants to move in immediately. Maybe you're not ready to move in now, you want to move in after 12 months, you want to move in after 14 months or 18 months, then we can onboard you on the next project.
Customers also stand the chance of acquiring their houses fully furnished when they make outright payments.
So this is the 2-bedroom house. What are some of the features of this area?
So this one right here is a 2-bedroom deluxe house. Like I said earlier on,
There's a 2-bedroom standard and then the deluxe. The deluxe is the expandable type, but the standard is not expandable. This one right here is sitting on a plot size of 60 by 80 feet. So first of all, this is the living room, as you can see. Very spacious and comes with all these things on your plate if you want.
Okay, here I can see that there are some items here. The rooms have sofas and a television. Do all your houses come finished?
So all the houses don't come finished like you see. But then one thing is we run promotions. And during the promotions, what we do is that if you give us an outright payment, then we give you all the furnishing you are seeing here for free. Okay. So for the same price, we give you all the furnishing. And that will include everything that makes a home. Being in the living, the curtains, the sofa, the beds, the TV, the cooker, the fridge, everything.
I think we should take a tour of you mentioned there's a dining area.
Yes, so this house comes with a separate dining area. So this right here is a separate dining area. So you could either have this side and then the living room is also there. And in between this and the living room, you have the visitors washroom.
Right. So this would be for a family of 4 there.
A family of 4, yes. And then right after the dining area, you have your kitchen also.
Okay.
Right here. So it's a fitted kitchen. It comes in just like you see it like this. And then there's a storeroom also that comes with it.
Okay. So this is one of the bedrooms in the house?
Yes, this is the first bedroom. So this is one of the regular ones. There are 2 bedrooms. There is one master bedroom and then this one. The difference is the master bedroom is slightly bigger than this. But like I said, all 2 bedrooms are all en suite. So it comes with its own toilet and bath right inside.
Is this the master bedroom?
Yes, this is the master bedroom. So you can see this is bigger than the other one.
Yeah.
And then, like I said earlier on, we have security cameras for the exterior of the house. The DVR and the monitor for the security cameras are also located here in the master bedroom.
Okay. So all the rooms come with inbuilt wardrobes?
They all have inbuilt wardrobes. And they all have their own washrooms too.
What is this?
This is the monitor and the DVR for the security cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, so once you are inside your house, you can monitor what is going on around your house.
Okay.
Marketing manager of the company, Isaac Ntiamwa, said the company envisions to facilitate access to housing to customers within the requested time frame.
I see that the roads have improved here in the estate. Tell us about the infrastructure here.
We build our own infrastructure as part of the development. We do from the drains, the gutters, the road, electricity, Ghana water. So if you can see, every house, all the pipes have been laid. The roads to retard them, as you can see. So it is something that we don't compromise on when it comes to the development, because a real estate development is not only about building the houses. You need to make sure that your residents have good roads to drive on. They have electricity as well, and then you make sure availability of water are also in place. When it comes to the transformers, we install them all ourselves so that the community becomes holistic, that people or the owners will have confidence in the space that they live in. So as you can see, all the roads are tarred. But during the construction time, we do with the hard surface road once the drains and the gutters are constructed. And then after the enclave is completed, then we seal it with a tarred road.
The Habitat Fair is coming up next month. What should customers expect from you?
We are coming live at the Accra International Conference Center. We will be present there. Our audience and our customers should visit our stand. We are offering a very good discount for anybody who is going to purchase a property from the Lakeside Hills. In fact, it is a project that we want everybody to be part. It is a project that we want every family, those in the diaspora, those in Ghana, retirees, young professionals, doctors. We want everybody to be part of this year's Habitat Fair, and we are going to be present. We're going to give them a very good discount that will be very accommodating for them in terms of their home purchase. So we would like to meet them, we will welcome them, and we have tailored programs and then tailored payment plans that we have laid out. We want to give it out to our customers so that they can be able to make payment towards their house as the year gets to an end as well. So we are going to be part of this year's Habitat Fair, and we want our customers to also be present there.
Hello there. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. And that was a contest. It was that one between PRESEC, Accra Academy, and GSTS. And look, even the quiz mistress was sad to see Accra Academy go. They put up such a stellar performance. And considering the results from the other competitions, not to run down the efforts of any school, but you know, other schools qualified with 32 points to the semis, others with 44, and Accra Academy had 58 points, but the rules are the rules. So sorry to the blow, guys. Better luck next time. We hope to see you again in the NSMQ. And as always, you know, we are grateful to all those who make it possible for the NSMQ to come off in the first place. And one of the supporting sponsors of the NSMQ 2023 is AT. And this morning I have been joined by Aso. She was here last year. And I'm so happy to see her again. We've been having a bit of a chit-chat in the background, but we'll let you in on some of the things we'll be talking about. Nancy Aso Esiedo Amrato is Head of Brand Management and Communications at AT. Good to see you, Aso.
Good to see you
I'm not going to ask you where your school is. Don't worry. But that was one of the things we were talking about. But it's been exciting so far. We are now at the we've gone past the quarterfinal stage, actually. Today is a breather for the contestants. Tomorrow we begin the semis. And but AT has done well. Thank you so much for sponsoring the NSMQ and being part of the journey. But there's one thing that you do which is exciting. The highest scorer award. I think yesterday PRESEC won that. But just run us through the highest scorer award and what it's all about.
Okay, so thanks again, Bernice. As you already know, AT is a company that prides itself with innovation. So when we had conversations with NSMQ, we decided to come up with something new, which is the AT Highest Scorer Awards. So what happens is during the day, you know, there are several quizzes happening at different places. But at the end of the day, we're looking for the school that had the highest scores, and we reward with some cash. So that's the Highest Scorer Awards. So we started with the preliminary stage, where we gave out 1,000 Ghana cedis, and it was not just for one quiz. It wasn't for all the several quizzes.
Okay.
So each day, 1,000 was given to the winning school. The 1/8 stage, we offered 2,000 Ghana cedis. The quarterfinals, 3,000 Ghana cedis. Semifinals, so tomorrow, expect 5,000 Ghana cedis as Highest Scorer Award. And at the grand finale is 10,000 Ghana cedis. So these are some of the things we do just to motivate the students. And I would say that congratulations to Kate Senior High for winning Highest Scorer Award. Pope John Seminary, Koforidia also had, Koforidia SecTech, and then Impriso SHS. Yesterday, PRESEC also had it. So we'll continue counting and then we'll continue giving.
All right. But like I said, you've been doing this with the NSMQ for quite some time now. What is the motivation to keep that relationship going?
Okay, so first of all, I'll say that we are a telecoms company, and you know, we pride ourselves in supporting things that are also related to what we do. So in focusing on STEM and then looking at how NSMQ is also challenging the young ones to take up careers in science, math, taking them on the journey of competition so they can even give off, all their best. We decided to partner with them. And then the ultimate is that we have pillars for CSR, and education plays a major role. So one of the strongest pillars in our CSR is education, and NSMQ falls under education. So we believe that we are in the terrain. This is where our heart is. That is what we want to do to support Ghana.
That's fantastic. Yeah. But AT, tell us about what you have on offer for us. I know a lot of young people use AT. That's another thing for you. So all these young students, all these young people who are gathering at all the venues, what should they expect? What are the activations you're looking forward to from AT?
So you know, data is the thing now. Yeah. Everybody loves data. Yeah. So we've got special packages on our daily deals offers. So when a customer dials *533#, you will get unique personalized offers based on your lifestyle. And we actually give lots and more of data volumes just for you to enjoy. We know the youth love data. We know you love data. It's not just for the youth alone, you watching and everybody. So you can be on daily deals, and we are giving lots of voice and data packages over there just for you. We also have credit transfer. That also gives 200% bonus.
Wow.
So, we're trying to stay away from scratch cards. Because we want to be eco-friendly. So if you want to buy airtime, we don't want our customers to go looking for scratch cards on the market. No. Please, when you get there, ask for credit transfer, and our agents will serve you. And we are giving you a whopping 200% bonus just for buying through credit transfer. We're also encouraging all our customers that please be on ATM money. Okay, for your convenience. You don't have to be on the street looking for scratch cards. You can top up wherever you are, anywhere, anytime, at your convenience. So try as much as possible to be on ATM money and buy your airtime from there. And trust me, you're also going to get another 200% bonus each time you buy from ATM money. So we're making it easy and simple for you, and we're also giving you more volumes.
Right, fantastic. Now, so what are your expectations? I mean, this is NSMQ at 30, it's a big one. We've seen how the contests have gone. It's exciting, and I'll be telling you about the semi-final contest for tomorrow. But what are your expectations, as a corporate entity?
Yeah. So 30 years is such a milestone, right?
Right.
And you and I, we have enjoyed NSMQ. It started as Brilla, right?
Yeah, Brilla.
So Brilla Science and Math Quiz. When we were young, we were watching this on TV. We didn't even know what they were, but every Saturday we were there watching Brilla. So they have really done well, and we are happy to also come in to support. 30 years again is a milestone. We are happy, but we believe that even beyond Ghana, NSMQ can thrive. So our expectations are huge. So we should think of going West Africa, going Africa, and even worldwide. So expectations is that we will expand our horizon and get into the spaces of West Africa, Africa,
and beyond. Fantastic. All right. So, I mean, your school is not in the competition. My school is not in the competition. But we've all probably found a favorite by now. I'm not going to put you on the spot, though. But, I mean, speak to all the students. There's 10,000 series up for grabs. There's so many other packages up for grabs. There's a bragging right as well. Presec is hoping to do a number 8. A lot of people don't want them to. Some of us are supporting schools like Ketasco, to do the magic and all that. But your message to the schools going into the semi-finals, what would it be?
Okay, so first of all, to all of us, let's have a healthy competition.
Right.
Okay, let's enjoy ourselves. Let's learn. Let's educate ourselves. And then also, let's have fun. But if you're last, we'll laugh at you. That one will laugh at you. So please, put in your best. Okay, put in your best. We have highest scorer awards. Put in your best. Win the 10,000 Ghana. Win the 5,000, 75. I mean, we are there to support you. However, let's do it in a healthy way. And congratulations to all of you. You are doing so well. We are proud of you and we love you.
Thank you so much. That's Nancy Aso-Esiru Amrado. She's Head of Communications and Brand Management at AT. And she's joined me this morning because they are supporting sponsors of the NSMQ. Well, today we have a breather, so sorry for those of you who are waiting for a quiz. We don't have a quiz today. We need to give the students time to rest and prepare for the contest, which will come off tomorrow. But here's what to look forward to tomorrow. And the first contest will be between Wesley Girls High School, Achimota School, and St. Louis SHS. And then Opokuwari School will face off with Pope John SHS Seminary and Prempeh College. And then the last one will be between Keta SHTS and Fantapim School and Presec Legon. So tomorrow we've got it all covered here on Joe News. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the AM show. Benjamin and I have been serving you breakfast. Thank you so much for availing yourself. God willing, we're back again tomorrow with another edition that puts you at the heart of everything that we do. That'll be goodbye from me and Benjamin, but do stay with us. We are your most credible news source. Up next is News Desk with Aisha.